Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Live from Sherwood Forest in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, Hour 1 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. I'm your lovable, huggable, mid-morning chat host, Eric Von Haessler. Surrounded by a full house of Doctrinaires, Tim Andrews is here, Autumn Fisher is here, and welcome back to Jared Yamamoto.
Happy to be back, man.
I know you are. You're a very strong person, and we appreciate you. And why don't we start with the open mic we received, because I think he expresses what the listeners are thinking and what everybody here in the newsroom and WSB's thinking. So go ahead.
Hey, Jared. Just want to send out love and prayers your way. I just know that your WSB audience loves you or care about you, and can't wait for you to get back and be part of the Doctrinaires again.
And, of course, that comes from all of us. And if people weren't listening in yesterday, you know, Jared's only 30 years old and suddenly lost his mother. And maybe for the last couple of weeks you knew, but it wasn't something that you saw coming for a very long time.
It was very unexpected.
Unexpected and sudden. And you know, I told you from the very I feel like you could have said, I'm gone for 14 days.
She was a big fan of the show, Eric, so she loved it, and she would want me doing exactly what I'm doing right now and being back here in the seat with all of you guys and here representing the Von Haessler Doctrine, and she's probably listening from above.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny. You told me that earlier before we went on, that in one of the last conversations, because she was sort of in and out for a few days, right? So you could have some conversations and then not for a while. That she told you that she'd been listening every day, which I don't think you knew. Obviously I didn't know that, but I know you knew she listened from time to time. But I think that's heartening in the sense that, you know, obviously you knew she was proud of you, but I think that was her way of, in the end, saying, you know, I'm very proud of you and what you've done. And it's got to add some little bit there to know that, you know, she was connecting with you. You know, she lived in North Carolina, you in here in Atlanta. So it must have been it's very hard to find comfort in these moments.
Of course.
Only time does that. But
it did mean a lot when she said that, though.
Yeah,
it meant a lot. Her fiance listens all the time as well. Mm-hmm. He's probably listening as we speak now. And my friends, family in the Atlanta area, and the listeners to this station have just been outstanding. I mean, they've reached out. People have offered to bring me food. Just
that's what people do in these situations. I don't know. Bring them some food.
Yeah,
you know,
here's a casserole.
It comes from the heart. It's like, because you don't know what. Sometimes you don't know what to do. You just want to do something. You just want to help out.
Yeah.
And as I said to you, like I said, if you took the next 14 days off, I would go in there and I would fight for you to get every penny that you should have gotten, you know, because you've never, I don't know how many people know this, but in 5 years, Jared has never missed a day. He's never called in sick. The host calls in sick at least 5 times a year. That's what a good example I am. You've never missed a day, and this is a genuine thing. But I also know, I'm aware of the fact that sometimes work can be a good thing in these situations, because it's a way to put your mind somewhere else for a little while. And then, of course, the reflection is going to come back, and you have the funeral and memorial and all of that stuff.
It was very therapeutic to drive in today and see the big WSB call letters, and everybody in the office has been amazing to me thus far. And Mom will be proud. This is what she'd want. She'd want me, she said, be saying to get back to work.
Yeah. Well, as I said in the text that I sent you last night, if you're going to come back this early, which I didn't think you needed to, that it's important to me that this not be a job for you for the next, little while. I want it to be a welcome distraction because people may not know this. You're the oldest child. That means while you're mourning, this was sudden, and you've got a lot of other stuff to deal with. It's just a whole lot. And so that's the way I want you to think of this place for the next couple of weeks. It's not so much a job, but, being amongst friends and hopefully a welcome distraction. So we're glad to have you back, and, we're all there with you.
But then after those 2 weeks, right, it's all bets are off, right?
Kid, you got 14 days and the hammer comes down. No, absolutely. And to any family members who are listening right now, obviously, we extend all that out to them as well. And know it's hard, especially because your mother was so young. And, usually at the age of 30, without a diagnosis of cancer or a car crash or something like that, you usually don't deal with this kind of thing. Tim lost his mother at a young age.
25.
Yeah, so he can relate. And I lost my mother a couple of years ago, but I was in my 50s and she was in her 80s. And it's not easy, but your brain, you get hit with something out of the blue. So hopefully it's a welcome distraction, and we'll start it by going and doing this right
Headlines for Tuesday, November 5th.
All right, sir, what do you have for me?
President Trump, Mitch McConnell, and Senator Rand Paul held a rally for Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin's re-election last night in Lexington.
So it was really a Trump rally.
Yeah,
kind
pretty
of.
much.
It was an excuse to get out there and throw some barbs around. I didn't see it. I saw a little bit this morning. I noticed, he's coming to town on Friday, right?
Yeah.
And they're starting a new black outreach voter outreach this Friday. And it's interesting because this morning I was watching the clips on the news, and I noticed that there was an interracial couple behind them.
Yeah.
Everybody behind him was wearing a shirt that said "Read the transcript," and so that's for what? For the governor's reelection? This was a Trump rally. So read the transcript. But they had the interracial young couple behind them, more people of color. They're doing everything they can, to outreach. So that's going to start. That's going to start this weekend.
We love the blacks.
Yeah.
Blacks, I love them. Blacks.
I don't like when people
Trump
say
like blacks. Blacks like Trump. The blacks.
I don't like that. Was it the blacks? It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Once you vote me, you'll never vote D.
Hey, can we get to what he really said?
I just want to say a very big hello, Kentucky.
Hello, Kentucky.
I'm still laughing at that last thing. All right, go ahead, play that again.
I just want to say a very big hello, Kentucky.
Hello. Yeah, go. What did he give us some more?
It's great to be here in the home of a group called the Wildcats. You ever hear of the Kentucky Wildcats?
They're a great group, the Wildcats. They fantastic group.
What do they do? What do the Wildcats do?
Well, they're
President
wild and they're cats, and they do what they do, and we love them.
I just want to say a very big hello, Kentucky.
Hello, Kentucky. What a state.
What did he have on impeachment? I know he went there. Here's the thing about what makes Trump different, whether you love him or hate him. People love him and people hate him, and there's people in the middle trying to make up their mind about next year. But he's unconventional, and sometimes his unconventionality, is that a word? Whatever. Being unconventional is sometimes disconcerting, but sometimes I think it's what people like, in the sense, like, I don't think Bill Clinton ever brought up impeachment while it was going on unless he was asked a direct question. And this is the unconventional side that I think people kind of like dig about Trump, is just right there as punchlines and jokes at his rallies. It's impeachment.
The media and the Democrats have launched an even more brazen assault on our nation with a deranged, hyper-partisan impeachment witch hunt.
Impeachment.
The Washington Nationals were at the White House yesterday. And Rush was talking about this yesterday, and obviously Rush is a total partisan and is, to a certain degree, considers it his job to get that side of the story out. And I understand that. But he got me thinking, because the narrative is that, the country, it's happening. We're going into 53, 54, 55%. People are not only for impeachment now, they're open to the idea of him being removed from office. But then on the ground, you don't see a lot of it. Rush was talking yesterday when I was driving home about Meet the Press. Chuck Todd was like, we went looking for swing voters or Trump voters and trying to find the ones who are angry at him. And he mentions we had to bring it up. When you get outside of New York City, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Chicago, big cities, maybe Atlanta, you have to bring up impeachment to people. They're not. Now, that doesn't mean that a smoking gun couldn't be found that suddenly gets everybody on board. I mean, who knows? I think that's unlikely, but it certainly could happen. But this narrative that the country is suddenly turning, there's this. The Washington Nationals yesterday, who was it? Suzuki was wearing a "Make America Great Again." This is in D.C., where that's one of the places that Trump is hated the most because all the bureaucrats, all
Swamp
the
City.
Yeah, all the lifers that all live there, and they're all Democrats. A Republican never wins D.C. And so for that guy to wear a MAGA cap.
Former Brave, too.
Yeah, and exactly. Oh, he was actually part of one of the weirdest situations I ever had in my life. I'll tell you the story later. You were there, Tim.
Oh, God, I can't wait.
This is when we were in the Braves locker room.
Oh, you got to remind me. I can't wait.
No, it was the Braves locker room, and we were there it was spring training one year.
All
and
right.
The whole show went, I think 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But one of the years that we were there, we had locker room access. And when you're in media, you're like, oh, you got locker room access, go in the locker room. But I didn't play sports in, that way growing up. I wasn't even in high school very long. So I don't have the experience of locker rooms. It was super hot. I don't know how to express this properly. It was super hot. And I don't have any problem with people and nudity, but I didn't expect it, right? So we walk into the locker room. I'm thinking, well, there's a media area or something. No, you just walk right into the locker room at spring training, and all these dudes are walking around nude. And I know that they're spotting us, and there's a thing like, let's freak them out as much as possible. And I'm sitting over there. I've got like a beret on or something. What the hell am I doing in this locker room? Like, you're in media, you're granted access, so you go in. And then you realize quickly, there's no reason to be here. I'm just looking at a bunch of nude people walking around. I'm not getting a story. I don't have a microphone. And there was a weird thing. It was really hot. And all that guys walking around nude. And then the thing that just knocked me over the top where I had to just run out and get air. Suzuki was sitting on the floor. I don't know why. He had clothes on.
Yeah, but
he was sitting on the floor slowly eating a salad.
Yeah.
And when everything came together at that moment, the heat, the nudity I didn't expect, and then for some reason Suzuki sitting on the floor, fully clothed, eating this salad.
Not talking to anybody, just sitting there.
Just like I just went, ran out. So I forgot that it was that guy. So for him, if the narrative is, remember when W went down, it was pretty quick and it was drastic. I mean, you saw it. You could be a fan of W and hate Tom Brokaw, but every poll was coming back at 23%, 25%. I mean, he had lost the American people. We know what that looks like. And if this is actually going the way that the most media are saying, we should be seeing people, as Rush said yesterday, they shouldn't have to look for people and bring impeachment up. If it was that much of a deal that they're devoting all their 24 hours to it and it's the biggest thing in the world and it's their Watergate, then it shouldn't be hard. Again, I'm paraphrasing Rush here. It shouldn't be hard to find people who want to talk to you as a reporter about impeachment if this is... and this has nothing to do whether he should be impeached or shouldn't be impeached. People are getting, whether you love him or hate him, like we know that there are people who love him and people who hate him. But whether you love him or hate him, there's a reality going on here. And I don't think it's necessarily what the media is serving up. And this is going to be the third strike. I mean, they keep telling their people, it's not long now. This guy's not going to be president for his full term. How many times can you keep telling people that over and over again and not delivering on it? And I think that people, what they pick up on is the breathlessness, the way that it's being reported. It appears on CNN and MSNBC and in the Washington Post and ABC and others. People sense that there's a certain amount of glee with which the reporters are giving us this story, which betrays their supposed neutrality. The reason, why do you have glee? Why are you breathless when giving us because you think, oh my God, we finally got this sucker, right?
Right.
That's what the Republicans fell into with Bill Clinton. But people do not remember how much Republicans hated Bill Clinton from day one. Speaking of Rush, his whole, when he first started rising, was America held hostage day all the way through the first term, day whatever. The hatred for this guy was so deep that when the Monica Lewinsky thing came along and they've been fishing for stuff against him, and believe me, he was a corrupt politician. I'm not sticking up for him. But with all this stuff that was going on, when the Monica Lewinsky thing popped up, they just finally said, "We got this sucker." Like we just can't stand this person, and now we got it. And that's what I feel is coming from the Trump haters and the media right now. If the media want to report the story, just report the story. But people can they can glean, they can see that you have glee about it because you think, wow, finally, this time we've got this sucker. I mean, our stupid listeners and our stupid viewers, we haven't been able to convince them yet how wrong they were to vote for this guy. But this time we think we've got him, and that there's just sort of a joyful thing that happens. Oh, another thing that betrays it, not just the MAGA hat, something as stupid as Dancing with the Stars, right? They've been trying to get rid of this guy, Sean Spicer, for weeks, and yet this guy that supposedly the country is tired of, he can still rally people to keep Sean Spicer on the show, and
vote for him tonight.
They can't get him off the show, you know?
Here's one of the judges. This is Lynn Goodman talking about Sean Spicer's latest performance.
We keep throwing you out the boat, and the viewers keep throwing a life preserver. No. Why?
That's the truth.
Yeah. Well, the thing is this, look. We all like an underdog. And I bet if I was a viewer and I saw how hard you try, there wasn't a lot of glaring mistakes. Your feet, well, the mermaid had better feet than you had.
So the point being is that's like the vote. See, the people in the middle with these pollsters, they may feel embarrassed to still say that they're Trump fans or they're going to vote for Trump. But we don't know who votes for Sean Spicer, right? So it happens. And it very well may be that the same thing's going to happen next November. I don't know. It's a long way away. But I'm noticing that the world in reality is not acting the way they're telling us it should be acting.
Warning! Do not chug milk before listening, because you will laugh out loud.
Milk was a bad choice.
Eric and the Doctrinaires, mornings at 9. Mark Aram, evenings at 6 on 95.5 WSB.
I'm getting too old to stay up for Monday Night Football, but I understand that Dallas won.
They did, yes.
Came back and won big. But I did see this thing where a cat got on the field.
Yeah.
This stopped play for some period of time. Let me hear.
Here's the radio call.
Walking to the 3. He's at the 2. And the cat is in the CDW red zone. CDW, people who get it now, a policeman, a state trooper has come on the field, and the cat runs into the end zone. That is a touchdown.
That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome, but this is what? How many people are in that stadium? Was it a Giant Stadium they were playing at, or was it in Dallas? Either way.
Yeah,
okay.
New York.
So what does that hold? What are there, like 60, 70,000 people there?
Yeah.
Plus all the officials? No one apparently understanding cats? Listen, I've had cats all my life. Let me tell you about it. You want the cat off the field? Just keep playing the game. You know how to keep the cat on the field? Remove everyone from the field and have one guy try to wrangle a cat. If you keep 22 people on the field, just playing NFL football, the cat will, scram. How do some people understand? We don't want women to think that the NFL would abuse a cat. So let's just stop everything for this cat. Just have things going wild. The cat will get the hell out of there. Yeah, as you know, I don't drink much pop these days. Up north, that's what we called soda.
Pap.
Pop.
Always swilling pap, Timmy.
Hey, you kids want some pop?
Oh, I got some pop. I spilled it in the bubbler.
Oh, careful, it's the pop. So, but I don't drink much at all, but I don't know, my stomach today or something. I got one of these Schweppes ginger ales.
Well, that'll help.
Yeah, underneath it says, this is curious to me. Ginger ale. Natural ginger flavor with other natural flavors. You don't need to know about them. Don't ask questions, pal. You got your natural ginger. Now just shut your eyes, shut your mouth, and keep marching. People think natural always means a good thing. I want to point out that, poop is natural. It's not the idea of other natural flavors. I'd like
Spit.
Arsenic.
Yeah. Could I have a little more clarity, Schweppes? All right, let's do this.
Tech Tuesday with Greg Russ.
All right, Greg, are you there?
I'm here.
Before you want to hear another thing that has nothing to do with Tech Tuesday, but I think you can relate to this, Greg. A weird thought I had yesterday as I was driving home.
Bugs, by the way. Those are also natural.
What? Bugs are natural. So you could crush them up and have natural bug flavors. I don't know what's in there.
Well, a lot of times red coloring, that's a beetle.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe
that's
it's a good thing. Which one? Well, there's only two left alive.
It's a
That's a little music joke.
Anyway,
as I was
George.
Is it George?
Yeah.
As I was driving home, I left the station a little bit later than usual, And so I was in flow of traffic with several school buses. You got to stop a million times. Oh, look at you. You get angry in your face.
I didn't anger. I rolled my eyes. That's not anger.
When you're a child, you were on that bus, so you can't relate.
I walked to school 2 miles.
But you know what I've noticed? This is a weird thought, is in my lifetime, vehicles have changed a great deal. I mean, to my 21-year-old, when he looks at movies from the 70s, it's like when I was a kid looking at movies from the 30s. The vehicles look so different now from then. Yet school buses are, for the most part, just exactly the same as they were in 1975.
There's a big debate going on now on whether or not they should add air conditioning to school buses. That's where they stand in their development.
How about seatbelts?
Well, here's the problem with seatbelts is they end up being more often than not in that situation a bad safety feature. Because if, for instance, you're getting kind of a wreck, now you have to get 30 kids unbuckled kind of thing. And although it is a good question because no one believes that the plane goes down and be saved by that belt buckle. The only reason the belt buckle on the plane is because if we hit turbulence, you don't want to go hit your head or something. So,
there was a point that I feel like buses were evolving because they had those flat front buses.
Yeah.
The Twinkie buses, as we called them.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to appear, and if you got that bus going to school, you were better than the other kids who had the traditional bus. But then they went away. They went away,
well, you know
and they
why?
just went back to the old style.
I think it's probably they didn't like some of the kids feeling like they were more special than the others, so everybody has to ride on the same old crap bus.
No one told us we were special. We assigned that to ourselves.
I know, but once they figured it out, they're like, stop this hierarchy.
Did you guys ever have the buses with the white top versus the ones with the yellow top?
that was a cool one.
Yeah, if you had the white top bus, it's like, oh man, that's the bus you want to be on. Bus 12, that's a good one.
This is what happens when you're too young to have a job to show off. So you just got to make up, hey, my life's better than yours. I got the white top.
Bus 12
they
better.
have that strobe light on top of their bus. Losers.
I had one bus driver who would play some radio station, and that was nice. That was like, wow, she's the coolest bus driver ever.
Yeah, that really won you over. And there was a bus driver at some point who allowed the students on the bus to give her CDs to play.
Wow.
There was a CD player that she had hooked up to this bus.
That probably went about as far until rap started to really get grotesque.
Well, all I remember is
kids.
Weezer's Blue Album. For some reason, that was on every morning.
Really? Wow.
Sweater.
That's not a bad one.
The buses, though, don't have to adapt. They don't have to streamline because they're not looking to go faster, so they can stay the same shape.
Yeah, and they're basically doing the same thing. But you look at something like fire trucks. They've changed an awful lot.
Yeah.
It's not the same old fire truck from 1969. It's just...
Still loud.
All right, that's good.
Bus Talk Tuesday.
That's right. We do this
Greg
every
Russ.
Tuesday. Join us every Tuesday, Greg Russ, and we talk about the state of bussery.
Where do you fall on the blue bill or the Bluebird bus?
The Bluebird bus?
Yeah.
I'm a Greyhound man. I don't like charters.
I understand.
Not a big
Well,
charter guy.
that's for next week, Eric.
Oh,
we
sorry.
talk about luxury coaches.
That's right. So make sure that you tune in next Tuesday at 9:36. Luxury tourist buses. What do you got in Tech Tuesday?
NASA says they could leave dead astronauts in orbit.
Yeah.
Like space junk. There's no plan in place if an astronaut dies in space.
While they're doing a spacewalk.
That was a little Dr. Seuss rhyme, which I didn't mean to. There's no plan in place.
Sometimes we find out we're more creative than we even know.
But they've never talked about it. There's no official plan. And one of the ideas that's been thrown out is you just put the astronaut out into space to orbit the Earth.
Forever.
Like Everest.
Yeah, you would see them like when you're walking up on Mount Everest. There's no way to get the dead
Right,
people down.
second dead body to the right and straight on till morning.
Well, that's what they said, that astronauts would then, the live astronauts would see the dead body. It'd be
Constantly, because it would stay near the space station, right?
Yes, it would stay in the same
because
orbit.
it's big and
Yikes.
So you'd constantly be reminded.
What time is it? Well,
Yeah.
Fred went by a couple of minutes ago, so it's 4:30.
I wonder if that happened, actually. There's worse ways. I mean, if, to be that guy who's orbiting the Earth.
You just orbit until you fall and burn.
Yeah, and which is going to be lifetimes before that happens because you're so light, right? And as long as, I don't know, sooner or later they're going to bring the space station down, right?
Yeah.
And you'd probably come down with the space station, I would imagine, in its wake. I don't know that for a fact, but that's how I think it would work. But so you just push the guy out and leave him out there. But what I'm wondering is if it was could you spot that with a telescope? Because if it was a loved one, you could just watch them keep going around the Earth. I don't know if that would be macabre.
Probably too small.
Yeah.
It's a romantic idea, though, and I'm glad that you went there because that would be look, my grandpa is up in space.
Same thing. But
I would hope that my StarView app would, show, oh, okay, there's Fred the astronaut right there. Here he comes.
Uncle Freddie.
Or Jan.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tim. You're
Come
right.
on,
Or Jan.
it's not just... So no one's ever...
We're so proud to have the first dead female astronaut orbiting the space station.
She's the first.
Wow, look. She's under my administration, the very first dead orbiting lady in space.
America.
Wow.
Boy, the struggle continues, but America always progressing forward.
Take that, Russia.
So nobody is lost. All the deaths in space have been on launch or re-entry. So no one's been lost during, not for any country, not for the old Soviet Union or Russia or anybody. So
it's never been dealt with. And the main problem is keeping the body cold.
Yeah.
That's what you got to figure out how to do. You're in space, so you could put it outside. But there was an idea with the space shuttle. They could put it into an airlock, which was almost absolute zero.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, the frozen corpse would freeze dry, and then they could vibrate it with a robot arm for 15 minutes, and it would turn into chunks, which would be a lightweight powder, and they could bring it back to the family, kind of like a cremation.
But why wouldn't they just bring it back? And then why would you have to turn it into powder?
I think that, first of all, they it's more weight than what you thought No, it's not. It's less weight.
No, it's the same.
So you might be out there for a while, and just having a dead body in the airlock for a month and a half
but it's cold. It's fine. It's in the freezer.
It's your old friend.
Put Fred or
Just tie
Jan
it to
in the
the
freezer.
ship.
Yeah.
Tie it. Tether it and then come back down.
Yeah.
We have this solved, you guys. We can
The
figure this out
problem
ourselves.
is the storage. It's not the bringing it back. It's the storage.
Right.
There's not much space to begin with.
Right. So you would use that. You would use that airlock for the thing.
Just like when you're up north
Yeah.
and it's wintertime, there's no room in the fridge for the beer. You keep it outside on the front porch because it's cold enough.
Or you could be born as poor as I was. Born as poor as I was. When I was in third grade, we had no freezer, but we lived in Wolcott, New York, which was everybody else had summer cottages. We were so poor we lived there without running water through the winter, and we didn't have a freezer. So through the winter, everything. I don't think we had a refrigerator. I remember my ice. I used to love it, actually. My milk, had ice crystals always in it every morning. And I like good cold milk, so it's good for me. But we had to go down, get our water every week from the well at the firehouse. This is 1972.
You ever had a toilet freeze over?
This is,
And you pee on the ice?
No, we used to. I was so poor that we would have to go to the bathroom and then take a bucket of water, pour it into the commode so it would flush itself.
Flush it, yeah.
But I think we had no refrigeration or something, because I think about it wasn't just frozen items. It was
there you
milk
go.
and everything else. We would go outside the cottage, get the milk, pour it on the cereal, go back out.
There's no freezer in the space station. You just chuck them outside. You keep a rope around them, and then when it's time to come home, you bring them back inside. They can keep for a couple hours, and then you get home, and then you.
By the way, you did it yourself, and you're a woman. You'll be ashamed of yourself. You said him.
Well, we were talking about Fred.
I noticed, and I shut down.
Yeah,
not Jan.
You were talking about Fred.
Emotionally, I'm checked out after that mistake.
Hey, we can talk about Jan.
I was talking about Frederica.
You forgot about Jan.
Jan is the historic first dead female space.
So brave.
Her sacrifice led me. Our first Space Force ship will be the USS Jan.
Daddy, can I be a dead astronaut?
Someday.
Maybe one day?
Tell her yes.
Yeah, you can dream.
I wouldn't mind. It'd be like a burial at sea.
Yeah,
if you were just jettisoned into
Except
space.
the thing is, you're not there, so you don't care. But I mean, in reality, when you go into sea, I don't like the idea of being buried at sea, because I freak out. I don't even go to the ocean. I don't like. You become fish food. And I don't.
But you're dead. It seems extra lonely, as if death itself is not lonely.
It's just like I don't want to be. I want to be just exploded into a million pieces. Just
attach fireworks to Eric when he dies on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Can't we start like a little supplement or something to the space program where people who want to die via just like being sort of gently nudged toward the sun, and then eventually you'll circle it, just get incinerated.
Well, I mean, how long
it?
would that take? The sun's 90 million miles
Who
away.
cares? At that point, who cares?
It's going to take you a while. You're just going to go around the Earth. Is all that's going to happen.
No. They fling you a certain way. They have math. That
is
can
this a
figure that out.
money-making idea for NASA?
Yes.
You pay money to
a lot of money.
Instead of paying for the cremation service or a burial or whatever.
You got to invest all that money in the sun flinging machine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nothing. They're already up there. If they can time it properly, they can just nudge it. You know what I mean? Like there's no resistance. They just nudge it in the direction.
Well, at least she's not talking about below deck. I'll give it to you. It's an idea. All right, next text story.
Emoji check, Eric. Facebook and Instagram have banned the sexual use of the peach and eggplant emojis.
Oh wow! Can I tell
Thank
you,
goodness.
We're safe.
As an adult, as an adult, always an adult, never afraid to be an adult. I've never used either of those emojis for any reason, let alone sexual reason. I just found out a couple of weeks ago that the cucumber, is it? Or is it an egg?
Eggplant.
It's an eggplant.
Okay.
Also, the sweat drop one.
What is that mean, thirsty or something?
Yeah.
I don't even know what thirsty means.
No, it doesn't mean that.
That's not what it means.
Okay, well, I don't know. Educate me. Educating Eric.
A woman is excited.
Oh, my God.
Or a man.
Okay.
Is done
Okay.
being
It's the
excited.
big O.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's disgusting, but I don't know how to...
It's a big O for a man, not the woman.
All they'll do, right? They'll gravitate to another emoji, and everybody will know it's the other emoji. It's silly.
Facebook and Instagram are keeping us safe, Eric.
Oh, for goodness sakes! I tell you, you know what? We need a little less safety in this country right now. People, hey, you know what? I got to start a new school. It's a summer school for 8-year-olds. All you do is get your feelings hurt for one full summer. I guarantee you will create the greatest people as adults with my 8-year-old humiliation summer camp. Sign up soon. This Blur? Yeah. All right, Gregory, you got another Tech Tuesday story for me?
I do. Google continues their quest to learn everything about every person in existence. They bought Fitbit for $2.1 billion.
Uh-oh. After I get into craze? I always
now they know your surfing habits. They know where you go through Google Maps, and now they know how much you sleep and how many steps a day you take.
Can I tell you something? I know that
they know if you're in that park. They know you if you're in that park.
They might also know that you weren't at the murder scene. So there's two sides to that. But what was I going to say? Fitbit right now, which is what I wear, they have assured everybody they'll never use your information to sell you things, target you with ads, or anything like that. And I guess Google has now said the same thing, but people don't know how long that's going to last. But I'll tell you this, Greg. I am the world's worst libertarian because I have to tell you, as a libertarian, this is supposed to be the thing that keeps me up at night. And I just think it's all gone. It's like showing up and your house has already been knocked down. The house is knocked down. I just don't see any reason to worry about it because Google already knows so much about me and my habits and whatever. The only thing I worry about is at what point can you do the version, like a Photoshop version with that kind of data and show that I was at the crime scene when I wasn't. Mm-hmm. I worry about that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I don't commit crimes. Nothing that should be illegal anyway.
For the most part.
I can't help it if society isn't as progressive as I am.
Well, now you can get your spam Gmail emails sent to your Fitbit all the time. So when you're walking, it's like, hey, did you not answer this ad that we sent you? Answer the ad.
My favorite thing is the people who believe they've done things that keep them away out of this whole data pile. We're all in there. They know everything about everything that you've been doing for the last 15 years. Believe me. Just relax. Hour 2 of the Von Haessler Doctrine starts right now. It's been a morning of awkward hellos for me.
How so?
Pretty good name for a band, the Awkward Hellos.
Hello?
I do my walking, so I see people, all the time. There's a lot of like, hey, how are you? Hello. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, and it usually doesn't happen to me 2 or 3 times in one morning. But sometimes in the morning, the first time you speak is the first time you run across somebody at work because you're not seeing anybody. And it'll be very weak sometimes. Hello? Hello? Excuse me, I don't really speak like this, but this has been the morning of awkward hellos. I just, everybody I speak to just happened again. I've been speaking on the radio now for over an hour. And how are you? And how you doing? I'm good. Yeah,
Is it primarily on this floor, or is it when you go to the second or the third floor?
It's well, I don't go to the third floor. Are you kidding me?
Okay,
You're not allowed.
I'm not allowed. I don't
Your
know.
badge won't get you onto the third floor.
Oh, yes, it will. Because they're trying to. It's a honey trap.
Yeah.
I see.
They're trying to get me up there. Then you'll never see me again.
Feed.
Yeah.
No, I don't. The radio people. Only Mark Aram is allowed to walk over that line. My understanding is that when you see somebody from Channel 2, you are not supposed to look them in the eye.
No.
And you know me, always a good employee. I know where I belong. Down here on the bottom floor that we like to call radio, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it.
More headlines for Tuesday, November 5th.
We'll have to talk, make me talk about impeachment. I hope.
The emoji, you're not allowed to use that emoji anymore? Is that what it was? Impeachment?
Yeah.
Yeah, the impeachment emoji.
Yeah, they're getting rid of the peach emoji.
Good.
Good. I brought up that the Washington Nationals were there, and he did say something about impeachment. This is the point I was trying to make right out of and I went to the wrong audio clip. I was making the point earlier that love or hate Trump, the thing about him, and I mentioned that I don't remember Clinton ever mentioning the impeachment proceedings unless he was asked a question about it. And with Trump, he's out there basically telling jokes. But this is while he had the world champion Nationals at the White House.
America fell in love with the Nats baseball. They just fell in love with Nats baseball. That's all they wanted to talk about.
Gnats zipping around, buzzing you around.
I don't know. I'm in America. I didn't fall in love with them. Matter of fact, I can't understand it. The Braves owned them during the regular season, and now they're the world champion.
Everybody loved them.
And it's all they were talking about. I guess in D.C., if you're in D.C., that's all anybody was talking about.
America fell in love with the Nats baseball. They just fell in love with Nats baseball. That's all they wanted to talk about. That and impeachment. I like Nats baseball much more.
And what's his name? What's his name? Scherzer, the pitcher?
Max Scherzer.
Yeah. There was a meme going around yesterday where everyone who hates Trump was saying that he was dissing the president. There's a short clip where the president appears to be trying to shake his hand and he's looking the other way. And as soon as I get out there, he immediately went, why didn't you keep looking for 2 more seconds? I turned around and shook his hand. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you have to. That's the beginning of manipulating imagery to make you think things happened that didn't. We talk about the stuff in the future. What's that? Fakes, deep fakes.
Deep fakes.
Yeah, and that is going to happen, and that's pretty bad. But already this is something you need to understand. Your eyes can fool you. If an event lasts 2 hours and you see a GIF, and yes, it's a GIF, and you see a GIF that covers 3.5 seconds of a 2-hour event, I'm going to say something to you that most people will not. You don't need a law. You don't need to bring Mark Zuckerberg back down to talk about it. What you need to understand is you live in the year 2019. You're going to be voting in the year 2020. You. It's your responsibility to understand the world around you. So from this point forward, if you have a mind, whether you're on the left or you're on the right, when you see a 3.5 second or 6 second or 10 second thing out of a 2-hour event, you will immediately say to yourself, that could be out of context, and I'm not going to believe what I see until I source it and get some context. And if you don't do that, I don't give a damn about what kind of country you want to have. You have to do the work. This damn government is not going to save you from your own stupidity. Okay, let's cut things back for an hour, all right? Hey, 27-year-olds, how about we just play video games 3 hours a day? And then we'll take that other hour, because we used to play 4 hours a day, because after all, we're 27. What else are we going to do? How about we cut that back to 3 hours a day, and then spend an hour actually just choose one story and do a deep dive? It may seem scary at first. You might find out that your initial impression was wrong. You might think to yourself, at that party last night, I was espousing this view, and now I can see I was completely wrong, and that's scary. So let's get scared, because the future is coming. Stop expecting politicians to protect you from your own ignorance. Only you can prevent yourself. I'm thinking of prevent forest fires. 2 things. Only you can prevent forest fires, and only you can save yourself from your own ignorance. This is ignorance. If you're listening to me right now and you bought that Scherzer thing, stop. Why? Why did you believe you were seeing reality? Do you not have abstract thought? Do you not have the ability to think, that event probably lasted more than 4 seconds? Do you not have this ability? Because if you don't get it soon, you're screwed. You are screwed. If you're waiting for your politicians to protect you from your own ignorance, well, they got you right where they want you. And they're going to dangle you off those strings and get you excited on Monday and get you depressed on Thursday and tell you they're going to... How can I get you to vote for me if I can't save you? Well, I need something to save you from. Yourselves? That's a pretty tall order. I'm getting annoyed with, what are we going to do about Russia? I know what we do. You educate yourself so that you don't believe everything that you read because it's online. That's it. If everybody did that, we wouldn't have a problem. We wouldn't have a problem. How many times do you have to be duped and find out your initial impression was wrong before you learn and apply it to the next time? You are at the top of the food chain. That means you have opposable thumbs and abstract thought. And if you choose not to use them, when technology keeps on going and you know inside the country and outside the country and all over people are trying to manipulate you, that's why I don't have a whole lot of empathy for people who get scammed. You couldn't scam me. You couldn't scam me. I don't care. Bring it on. The scammiest scammer in Scamland. You can't scam me. Because I'm not going to buy your BS without a deep dive, sourcing what you're telling me. Caveat emptor? Buyer beware. I didn't want to mix it up with Carpe Diem. I sound like an idiot. Carpe Diem? Buyer beware. Buyer beware today. Carpe Diem. So this is very important. And as I say this, I know that this solution will never happen because I'm looking at the world and people are becoming more and more and more ignorant. I can't remember the story that came out, and it was, then you got the other side of the story. Oh, it was that guy who did the Browns kick off their team for threatening a reporter.
I don't remember his
name. But it was a team.
Yeah.
So the reporter said, hey, he's not doing his job. He's terrible. And then the guy tweets back and he threatens him with physical violence. And so he lost his job, as he should. That's all as it should be. But
is it Jermaine Whitehead?
Yeah. I was looking. Have you got the tweet? I mean, there's people do not know how to communicate through, there's nothing wrong with colloquialisms, right? We all speak. We say ain't that, and that. Yeah. But we shouldn't be writing ain't unless it's the name of a song. Ain't that a shame? We could say ain't, but when you write, you take the time to think of what you're writing, you should say isn't. Or so.
Oh wow!
I mean,
yeah. I'll try. You want me to try to read it to you?
Yeah, and I don't want. And what I want people to understand here is this is not low-hanging fruit Ebonics jokery. I'm not talking about that. I just said to you, colloquialisms, people in Boston speak the way that they talk, but people in Boston they shouldn't be writing the way they talk. They shouldn't spell ca, C-A-W-W-R.
Ca.
Yeah. When you take the time to write your thoughts down, you should, try being, I'm not talking about being grammatically perfect. I'm not that. But an effort. So don't read it in any kind of voice.
No,
I'm saying is we're losing the ability to write down our thoughts and use the language to express ourselves. We have this lazy colloquialism, and then we're just completely lazy when we start writing. Now, this is, and then so young kids see this and go, oh, this is the way to be cool. I'm gonna write like this.
So Dustin Fox was the one who started the thread here. He said, Whitehead's effort tackling today is a joke. #Browns.
Okay, now when you read his back, I want you to read it back very slowly, word for word.
Okay.
This is what Whitehead tweeted to them.
Come and get it in blood.
No, you're going too fast. One word at a time.
Come get it in blood, B word. Made A word, little boy. I'm out there with a broke hand. Don't get smoked, F word, A word. And then the C word that we eat.
What? Nothing is spelled correctly. There's no attempt to spell anything correctly. It's just, that's when you look around and you see that we're losing. I don't even know why I'm in the mood to have this little rant right now. But, because I really feel like there's no chance that I'm going to get through to anybody. I really feel like, how the environmentalists feel like it's already gone off the cliff? That's how I feel with this. Very few, none that I know of, cultures go from ignorance to, I'm going to say, like super intelligence. So you get to the point where everybody can read just about in a country this big, right? And then you should think that should keep going up and up and up and up, but it doesn't. Then it starts to go down. No countries that I know of in history ever come back from that. You don't get smart and then dumb and then suddenly really smart again. I think that it's just going to keep going down and down and down and down. And I know I'm the old man standing in the ocean telling the waves to go the other way. But at least I want somebody to say, hey, he saw what was happening. People should be proud of how they write to one another. And I know that we don't do it very often, but we do. We just don't do it with pens and pencils anymore. We communicate all the time through the written language. And are you considered an idiot if you use grammar on Twitter? And then you throw in the emojis? Look, you can't have great ideas and visionaries if you don't have a vocabulary. If you can't communicate big ideas to people and you've got to dumb things down all the time with emojis and, writing the way you speak, yeah, there's just no chance. It's sad. I don't see us coming back from this. I know that's it's a kind of. I hear the music. I'm like, wow, that's a real downer. So we come back. I'll do a story that's better than this, and we'll have a little bit of fun. But this is important. Generation by generation, people are losing their command of the written language. That's important. I know I was doing a story, but I have to say that I'm happy that the Terminator movie flopped. I mean, it flopped big time. There were so many headlines in the last couple of days about how the franchise is done, which is great, because it never should have been a franchise. The T2, Terminator 2, is one of the best action movies ever made, and everything was answered. It was all wrapped up. It was perfect, except that Hollywood said, ooh, we could get some more money out of this. And they've done, what is this, the fourth?
Sixth.
I mean, since 2, it's the fourth horrible movie. And it flopped so bad. I think it made like $30 million. It cost, they say $150 million. You add promotion and everything to that, it's well north of $200 million. But here's the thing. I'm glad that it flopped because it's another one of these things. I know my listeners don't watch this show, Doctor Who. 55 years it's been going, and they changed into a woman, and the whole thing was just to tell me as an old fan what a jerk I was and how things are changing. Not real entertaining. Not real entertaining. Star Trek has become woke, especially the Discovery thing, which I can only handle a couple. But nobody likes this stuff except critics who are woke. Audiences do not like the Star Wars franchise has been drawn to its knees by wokeness. Get woke, go broke. And the reason I'm happy, first of all, I've never seen any Terminator movie after T2. And I won't do a spoiler here, but something happens in the first 2 minutes of this movie that just wipes T2 right off the map. They already did it already. All right, can I just say this? T2, the full name was Terminator 2, because it was the second film. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. My understanding is every film since starts out with Judgment Day was supposed to be blah, blah, blah. But now, so that great movie, now if I go back and watch it, it doesn't matter. Because it turns out that wasn't Judgment Day. So what are you getting all excited about? And then at the beginning of this one, I'm not going to spoil it. I wish I could spoil it. I wish I had that in me because there's a bigger point to it. But in the first 2 minutes of this movie, which I have not seen, but I know that this happens in the first 2 minutes of the movie, it couldn't be more obvious what they're doing. We can't have a white male hero. And they do the most disgusting thing that you could do while the kid's a kid. Another reason why T2 doesn't matter anymore. And all three heroes, okay, I'm going to go watch the Terminator, watch a 63-year-old woman kick ass. What is that? It makes no sense. Have you seen? I'm sorry. Have you seen the poster with Sarah Connor, that blonde, half human, half the Terminator, and then the new hero? They look like three women hell bent on sheltering rescue dogs. I don't look at this thing. These people look like go kick ass. Oh yeah, come on in here, Sabrina. That Trump Jr.'s got some weird facial hair, doesn't he?
Which one? They're both weird looking.
No, but one's got the facial hair.
Oh, Junior, yeah.
It just seems like he's too young to be dying. Yeah, it looks like a dye job kind of thing. Sabrina Cupid.
Hello.
Oh, I'm glad to have you in because I've wanted to have you in the last couple of days, but she's so busy. And Sabrina, everywhere she goes, there's paparazzi, and it's hard. You got to get your people to get to her people. But I wanted to congratulate you because you are now a fully invested member of the Georgia Radio Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Hey, Alan, clap in there. Heaven's sake.
Well,
I'm busy.
That's so nice. Thank you.
No, so because it really is one of those things. I thought that once you went there, you knew you were in, but no. You had to dress up. Did you have a big? Was there a red carpet? Did you have an evening gown? Did you show up with a big thing? Were you wearing Dior or something? I don't know who makes those things. I don't know. I don't know what those names are.
Dior is a perfume.
But you could. It was one of those things where somebody goes up and says, you're up against these people, but you won. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so cool.
Well, you certainly deserve it.
So now we have to get you guys in there.
I don't get awards, and
you should.
I've never in my life, Sabrina, have ever won anything. I will tell you this story. I think it's the last time I told this story is when I was congratulating Mark Arum for getting into the Hall of Fame. This is my Hall of Fame. I've never won anything in my life except once when I was 5 years old. I was at the Ohio County Fair, and I must have gotten closest in guessing how many jelly beans are in a jar. And that what I got in return was a large jar of pennies. And this was like mine, except I never saw it again. We weren't very rich, Sabrina, and I think my parents needed cigarette money.
Yeah. No,
so
I get it.
I really had a good time knowing that I won, and I never saw that money again. Hey, that bicycle, we paid for it with those pennies. Nothing like that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You deserve every award and reward, and proud to be working with you.
I'm proud to be working with you guys.
Sabrina
Congrats.
Cupid. Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Anytime.
Back to the paparazzi. And my people
They're
are
waiting
talking
for you. Like they're waiting for you outside.
Flashing drives me crazy. My people are talking to your people about something. We'll make it happen. All right. Well, yes, I have more to say. Did you write this or did Pete? Or
I wrote this one.
So you started with all right.
Yeah. Because I know that's how you come back from a lot of segments.
All right.
Like Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
I always
2
think
+ 2 = 4.
I always think
Osiris gets in front of my vehicle.
I always think of the coach in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. All right.
I think of Uncle Billy in It's a Wonderful Life, where he leaves
I'm all
the.
right. Have you ever seen that movie? As we get into the Christmas season, people say things twice a lot in that movie.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
Mary, I'm all right. I'm all right. There's more too. Those are those.
Bert, do you know me? You know me, Bert?
Yeah, you know me. I don't know who wrote that screenplay. Thought people were really dumb. We got to hit him over the head twice with everything. All right, let me do this one. All right. I have 2 pairs of tickets for the UGA Mizzou. Are we still calling Missouri Mizzou?
Yeah, you call it that.
Mizzou game this weekend in Athens. I don't know why Missouri's in the SEC. I don't see them as being in the Southeast, but they are. So 2 pair of tickets for the UGA Missouri game this weekend in Athens. You have to sign up right now on your WSB radio app, and you have 20 minutes till 11 a.m. I'll announce the winner at 11:15. Now, don't get me wrong there. The window closes at 11. I announced the winner at 11:15, but you can't win unless you sign up on the WSB radio app. And also, while you're there, you can sign up for the Von Haessler Doctrine Christmas special.
Yeah.
We need, we still got this one in the lab. It's looking good. It's looking good. It's hard to top last year's. It really
so
pulled
good.
out all the stops.
Christmas.
Yes, this is my kind of Christmas. You know what I want to do? I want to have somebody who knows how to sing the Christmas song that I sang that I wrote last year. No. Well,
A man.
I was thinking, no, I'm not. But see, I can see 2 different things. No, it's 2 different things. No, 2 different things here I can see. One would be a children's choir type of thing, where it's where it's a real. I'm thinking. No, I don't mean like the Mormon Tabernacle choir. I mean like when you hear kids sing Jingle Bells in a choir or something. Yeah, whatever.
Castrati.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, I'm all for it. We can do it that way, or I was thinking we try to get that guy who sings "God Bless America" for the Braves.
Yes,
but that's more of a different. That'd be like "This Mass is my," or the children's choir. I think the children's choir for that one, but whichever we can get. Or nothing. I'm signed on to do this thing, whether we have anybody or anything. So
that's Timothy Miller, who you're thinking of.
Yeah. Somebody get in touch. Have Sabrina's people get in touch with his people.
Okay.
Yeah, they're represented by the same.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal with this audience, though. This is you're helping us put together the Christmas special that I understand is going to play like 722 times in the month of December. So we're looking to have it on air for the first time on Thanksgiving. start off the season correctly. And well, you need an audience that is really into it. You're going to be directed. You're going to have things because we're creating your help. It's like watching people put together the recipe, and then you leave, and we put it in the oven and pull it out 4 hours later, and that's the radio show. So it's going to be a different kind of live show where we'll stop down. We may redo things, but we want a good, fun live crowd that really knows the show, really loves the show, and wants to be a part of making the Christmas special better.
Did you see the 3 difficult questions that you have to do just to get into the door?
Are those the same ones in the live lounge?
No. What year did the von Haessler Doctrine launch on WSP?
Oh, look at that. I don't even know that.
What is Eric von Haessler's second favorite NFL team? And what did Eric give up this year? So you have to write out the answers. So that way we want the true diehard fans that know this show inside and out.
Absolutely, because it'll be fun. When you go to these Christmas specials we do are based on the 70s Christmas specials that I watched when I was growing up.
Oh.
And with Bing,
that's right,
Bob Hope, and Dean Martin drunk.
Percival here?
Well, I'm watching like Dean Martin stuff because I want to steal stuff from like this 1967 special that he did.
Ooh.
Well, this guy had it made. He's like the whole act. Dean Martin was very talented, had a great voice if you listen to his records. But this show, it was just like, I'm just stumbling through. He stumbles through the sketches. He sings famous songs, but then he's smoking at the same time. It's like Foster Brooks. That's another reference that no one will ever get. So if you want to be a part of that and help us make a very special Christmas special, you can sign up for that on the app.
Basically,
as well.
the WSB radio app is the place to be, Eric.
You know what? For all things. Do we have weather on there? Yes, we do. Do we have traffic on there?
Yeah.
Yes, is the Von Haessler Doctrine on there?
Yeah.
What else do you need?
Nothing. I'm leaving right now so I can listen to my favorite station. I thought I had to be here to hear. I don't.
You are listening to it right now.
Well, I thought I had to be in the studio to hear the station. Am I wrong? No, you can. Oh, I had no idea. I would have slept
But what's
in.
happening now is happening on the radio, so you are hearing what's on the radio right now.
But I don't. My point is, I don't have to be here.
But you're hearing it before everybody else, too.
By nanoseconds. It's not like I can write a review and be ahead of people. All right, let's do this.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm running for president.
I'm going to run for president of the United States.
So I'm in this fight all the way.
I'm running to serve you as the next president of the United States of America.
This is a moment in time that I feel a sense of responsibility to stand up and fight.
They call me Mayor Pete, and I am running for president of the United States.
That's why today I'm announcing my candidacy for president of the United States.
When we start running, keep America great! Exclamation point.
Trail mix.
I find it offensive that I'm not included in that sounder.
AOC?
Yes.
You're not running for president. You're too young.
Right, but that's just like not right. And
So it's not
I
fair.
think that it's not fair.
Here we go again. Another woman of color not being allowed to entertain on
I
the
am
main
a woman
stage.
of color.
That's
Thank
what I
you.
said. I'm sticking up for you, silly.
Kamala.
Oh, thank you. I
and
thought you
AOC.
were against me, and I wasn't sure. I'm so sorry.
Kamala,
Have a glass of wine.
Do you really, Kamala? Do you really like AOC? I mean, tell us the truth.
She's a little stupid.
She's young. She's young, right?
But
When I was young, I was already working in government.
Listen, if I'm stupid smart. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Girl, you're a crazy girl.
Kamala Harris. Are you in any relationship to the dead comedian Paul Lynde?
Here's a mentor of mine. Everything I do. Dom DeLuise's jockey shorts.
Well, if this president thing doesn't work out, you can be the secret square. You don't know what that reference is either.
They don't.
The secret square. All right, what do you got?
Well, I wanted to go back to that Trump rally that was in Lexington, Kentucky last night.
Well, you better get in your car.
Here we go. We're in the car right now. And Trump had some funny moments. And one of the things, of course, he's been ripping on Joe Biden a lot.
Yes.
But this one was especially funny.
Very slow, Sleepy Joe. Biden, that is.
What?
Said of China's piracy and plunder, they're not that bad, folks. He always used the word folks. I watched him today. He used the word folks. Hi, folks. Hi, my time is up. I got to leave. Now they have him all freaked out because he makes a mistake every time he speaks.
was like, this is the little things. If you're not one of these people who's invested, who loves or hates this guy, it's like, I listen to something and I think to myself, is that the first time a sitting president has used the phrase freaked out? I don't remember any other presidents. It's like the other day when everyone else was debating whether or not he was booed or he was booed or yayed or whatever when he was walking into the UFC thing, cheered the UFC thing. And all I'm thinking is this the first president to enter a room to AC/DC's all night, shook me all night long? Has that ever happened before? So,
hi, folks.
Hi, folks. And then there's this weird part.
It's like Biden, that is.
Yeah.
Swimming
Biden,
pools, movie stars.
Biden, that is.
Boy, that is.
Yeah.
Biden, that is.
Biden.
That is.
Did we think you were talking about Joe Montana? Huh?
Joe Montana. Joe Biden, that is.
Very slow, Sleepy Joe.
Slippy.
Biden, that is.
Boy, that is.
Ukrainian pools.
Hi, folks.
Hi, folks. Come and listen to a story about a man named Joe.
Biden, that is.
He and his son committed quid pro quo.
Biden, that is. Very slow, Sleepy Joe.
Slippy?
Biden, that is.
Whoa.
Set of China's piracy and plunder. They're not that bad, folks. He always used the word folks. I watched him today. He used the word folks. Hi, folks. Hi. Hi, my time is up. I got to leave.
I got to go. Goodbye. Hi.
Now they have him all freaked out because he makes a mistake every time he speaks. Hi, folks.
He's all freaked out.
What is he, sir?
He's all freaked out, folks. Folks, he says folks.
Oh, this is going to be an entertaining year. It may be the worst year for the history of America, but it's going to be an entertaining year.
Hi, folks.
Nobody tweaks your funny bone like these guys. Eric Von Haessler, weekday mornings at 9, and Mark Aram, weekday evenings at 6 on 95.5 WSB.
All right. What did I want to? I've been talking about this for what, 4 or 5 months? This idea, this Mayor Pete, he's so popular, coming out of nowhere, 0% African American support. And at first I was like, hey, I'm not going to be the first one to throw this on the table because I'm not going to have people, hurt my radio show because they don't want to hear something. But yesterday I was talking about this because there was a story because these are now becoming stories because Buttigieg is getting very, very strong in Iowa. And maybe could win. Who knows? Definitely could be in the top.
Most polls
top
have him
3.
third or fourth
Yeah,
right now.
could be second or third. Could win. But he's still not picking up ground on Africa. On Give Me a Break yesterday, I was saying, this whole article, well, perhaps as they don't know who he is, but nobody will talk about. Nobody will talk about the real reason. And so for a long time, I was like, 0%, Mayor Pete has 0% support among African Americans. I wonder why that could be. That was my way of getting it. Now, people are starting to talk about it, and now you see there's a scrum starting between, not scrum, but a back and forth between Kamala Harris and Representative James Clyburn. He is the senior African American politician in South Carolina, certainly in the House of Representatives from South Carolina. He's the guy, initially, he supported Hillary over Obama. And it was when he made the switch that the fortunes turned for Obama. Excuse me, South Carolina was wide open for him. Well, now he has said some things that mirror what Eric Von Haessler has been saying. And Kamala Harris is yelling back at him, and a bunch of white people are mad at him. And that means we're going to discuss it more when we get back. Hour 3 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. Before we get to this thing that has finally broken into the open that I've been hinting at for months, since we first heard the name Mayor Pete and he was starting to get some traction, but had 0% amongst African Americans. And now we've got a spat back and forth in the primary. So now it's out there and I can commentate on it. But I've known this was coming. But before we get to that, I had to, earlier, when I was talking about how bad grammar is on Twitter and social media, and I had Jared Yamamoto here, I had him read the, was it on Facebook or I think it was on
It was a
Facebook.
tweet.
Just to show how bad the grammar was. And he got to the end and you notice he said, and he calls him the A word and then the B word. And then he goes right to the alphabet and he goes, the C word. And then when we got off the air, he said, I just don't know if I can say cracker on the air. Like, who in the world would have thought of that word when you said that? Well, hey, how did you not make that just way worse than just saying, hey,
we live in a troubled time, Eric. We live in a troubled time.
Still, in a conversation about America not knowing how to communicate with one another anymore, we actually turned around and made the point.
Well, that's why when I said the C word that you eat, I was like, oh, I don't think that works either way.
All right, let's do this.
Even more headlines for Tuesday, November 5th.
Remind me in 5.5 minutes, I have the winners of the UGA tickets.
Hot off the
Bulldogs.
press there.
Yeah.
Should we set an alarm?
Well, we should because we say 11:15, and these things are. It's not like our goofy commentary. These things are police. So, and I'll just start talking about something and forget. Yeah.
I've got two.
Okay, you're gonna do this story here with Buttigieg, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this, let me jump in here because I've been waiting for this day. Because James Clyburn again is, if you're running for president and you're a Democrat, South Carolina being the it's the third state, right? You go Iowa. That guy never gets the nomination lately for the most part. New Hampshire, sometimes they've been splitting. You're strong. You pick up in South Carolina. And if you want to be a president and you're running the Democrat primary and you want South Carolina, you got to have Representative James Clyburn on your side. He is he's just the African American politician in South Carolina. And I was saying this before, when Obama announced that he was running against Hillary, Clyburn's old school. He got on the Hillary train really early. And I remember seeing him on one of the Sunday shows back then before he jumped to Obama. And he said, Obama's great. He's going to be president. I just don't think it's his year. I think it's Hillary's year. Well, by the time we got to, I think right before the Iowa caucuses or somewhere in there, he was starting to feel the pressure because people were saying, look, this guy could win. You can't choose. So he switched and became an endorser of Obama, and that helped Obama an awful lot. So you need this guy. He's the African-American politician on the Democrat side in South Carolina. I've been saying for a long time, nobody wants to talk about why Mayor Pete can't seem to pick up any traction in African-American support. And I worry about it because the way things are now, we got a great show here, and I get some idiot who thinks they're hearing something I'm not saying, and I got to deal with that. And now it's out in the open. And so this Representative James Clyburn was on with Dana Bash.
That's right,
CNN. And so the only reason they feel they could bring this up was apparently an internal memo of the Buttigieg campaign came to light where it said, we think we're having problems because older African Americans in the South are not happy with the fact that you live with your husband.
Is Mayor Buttigieg's struggle with black voters in your state of South Carolina because he's gay?
Well, that's a generational issue. I know of a lot of people my age who feel that way.
Are you saying for older African Americans it is an issue?
Yes, it is. There's no question about that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you otherwise, because I think everybody knows that's an issue.
See, that's the most interesting thing to me is the very end. I think everybody knows that's the issue, which means politicians behind the scenes on the Democrat side have been saying this for a long time, which means reporters have been hearing it for a long time. But reporters did not want to jump ahead of this. I explained this yesterday. People have an ideal view of the world, right? If there's been an oppression that's taken place, people are just never rational and go, well, that was idiotic and wrong, and everybody's equal, and everybody should be seen the same way. It doesn't. What happens is people go from being oppressed to saints, as if they're not human beings. People are human beings. All human beings have prejudices, have ideas they bring to the table, things that they're brought up with. And because you're in a class of people who have been oppressed, it doesn't remove your humanity. There are no saints with beating hearts. Is this understood? There are none. When you say we have to stop oppressing, everyone needs equality, equality means equal. It means 2 plus 2 equals 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. It doesn't mean, well, now it's 2 plus 2 equals 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. It doesn't change. When you say civil rights, when you say stop oppressing other people, what you should mean is everybody is afforded the same respect as everyone else. That's how I feel. I will always assume that you're a good person until you give me evidence that you're not. I even have a philosophy in life that no matter who you are, if I meet you, whoever you are, with whatever color, whatever anything, I will give everybody the chance to screw me over and not care about it. Because the way that I look at it, thank you for giving me that information right now that I can't trust you ever again. You did me a favor. Thanks. That's the way people should look at the world. Equality is everyone gets the same amount of respect right out of the box, and then they can lose it. They can do something to lose it. But from the point of view of social justice warriors, and our press is in this as well, it's about competing narratives. Oh, it may be true that older African Americans aren't happy with a homosexual candidate, but that will hurt our activism, what we want the country to become. And so we'll just suppress that story a little bit. I said this yesterday. It's fascinating to me that white Southern Christians, the press will always let you know that they're Christians. They'll always let you know that they're evangelical as a way to say, all right, before you listen to this person speak, you need to understand a lot of their ideas about politics come from their faith. The same thing is true about black Southern Christians. Their faith is at the center of their lives, but the way that it is portrayed, that's completely removed. All right, I'll stop for a moment because I have to, in the middle of my unbelievably fantastic, I wouldn't call it a rant, I wouldn't call it a speech, I'd call it common sense. I have to stop down to let you know that we have 2 winners. So do they each get 2 tickets, or do they have to go sit next to each other?
They each get 2 tickets,
Okay.
2 pairs.
And you don't have to call us back. You're just the winner. We'll get in touch with you. Michael Wenk, W-E-N-K, Michael Wenk of Douglasville. We will call you, and you'll be getting your tickets to go to UGA versus Mizzou. And Gordo Dion of Auburn.
Nice.
I'm assuming not Auburn, not that
Auburn, Georgia.
Yeah,
that's up in the north side.
All right, very good. Because I'm not giving tickets to an Auburn fan.
No, absolutely not.
So there you go. You don't have to call us back. We'll get in touch with you. There you go. Now, where was I in my terrific? Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Next story.
No, the idea is that when political Southern African American voters are presented through CNN and MSNBC, their Christianity is stripped away. It's not, and look, people who know me, I'm not Mr. Religious. I just observe the world. I respect the hell out of everybody, like I said, until people give me some reason not to. So I'm not coming at this like I'm evangelical and I'm pleading my case. I'm just saying I'm watching this game play out. And when African American Southern voters are talked about on CNN or MSNBC, or they do focus groups or whatever the story is, their faith is never really, unless it's the story. Remember when Dylan Roof killed people and he duped them into praying and then all the press went there. This is a good example of the other side, because I don't know that I could do this. These are truly religious people who forgive. But you know that CNN and MSNBC, they all went there expecting riots, or because they're truly, I don't want to use the term racist because that's used in the wrong way. You're not a racist unless you believe that your race is superior to others. Anything else is bigotry and prejudice. But an actual racist, for instance, will never vote for a black candidate, right? If you're a white racist, because an actual racist is somebody who believes that their skin color is superior to others, and it's used in the wrong way too much. So I won't say the press is racist, but they are prejudiced, and they do put people into little categories. So when Dylan Roof did what he did, CNN and MSNBC, everybody went there looking for some sort of social justice, riots on the streets, maybe not quite Ferguson because it's the South, but something like that. And what they got was a whole bunch of worshipers, loved ones of these people who had been slaughtered for no good reason, who immediately were saying, we forgive him and people were stunned. And the reason they were stunned is because when talking about African American Southern voters, the Christianity is always stripped away from them. It's never a part of the context of the story. But if you talk about a politician from Alabama, it's going to be there. It's going to be there up front, a little bit in the middle, and a whole lot at the end. Because the truth is, both should be reported as context, not as an indictment or anything along those lines. So when you hear the end of that clip...
Are you saying for older African Americans it is an issue?
Yes, it is. There's no question about that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you otherwise, because I think everybody knows that's an issue.
Everybody knows in his circle. You know what that means? That means Wolf Blitzer's known. That means Anderson Cooper is known. I mean, you'd think Anderson Cooper might have something to say about that. But the problem is that they get worried about, this is what happens when you become even slightly activist as a reporter. You have a rooting interest. Every reporter should say, wow, this is fascinating. Let's do the story because it's fascinating. But they've held this story back because they don't want people in America to think that older African Americans anywhere in this country could hold prejudices themselves. But of course they do, because we all do. We are all flawed human beings. I'm not even indicting the belief or the reason they don't like Mayor Pete. What I'm saying is, remove the word flawed. We're all human beings. And we come in just because we have a skin color doesn't mean we all agree on anything. The off-air show is so much funnier than the one that's on the air. But yeah, we do what we can.
We have fun.
Yes, we do. So we didn't get to the other part of that Clyburn thing, where Clyburn is now saying that, African-American voters, especially older, he's saying older voters, are having a problem with Mayor Pete's sexuality.
Are you saying for older African Americans it is an issue?
Yes, it is. There's no question about that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you otherwise, because I think everybody knows that's an issue.
So now Kamala Harris has come out with something saying he's completely wrong?
Yeah, this is a headline from Politico. Quote, just nonsense. Kamala Harris calls narrative that black voters are homophobic a trope.
First of all, is that what she said?
It's nonsense. It's just a trope.
He didn't say all. See, she answered something he didn't say. He said it's generational. He said older black voters in South Carolina. So he didn't say everybody. He didn't say all African Americans. He told you the truth. Whether or not you can accept it. And it's okay. It's okay to ask any type of voter to reassess their values and what they're thinking of, and ask them why they're voting the way they're voting, as long as you're not an activist parading yourself as a reporter. All right, I believe you have an open mic for us.
I do. This is from the WSB Radio app. How about that?
Eric Von Haessler,
yes.
So you didn't want to rip off ESPN's Come On Man, but you jumped straight to Give Me a Break, which is what John Stossel is almost exclusively famous for? I'm just making sure I got that right.
Oh, it's impossible. That's correct. I just completely forgot about that. It's so hard to figure out a name for this new segment of ours that doesn't, you don't get in trouble for anything, but I'm very, I started out in stand-up comedy, and there were two types of comedians. Well, there were ones who sucked. I was in that category. But out of all comedians.
Prop comic?
Yeah, no, I was not, no. I was just, 19, tall, at the edge of the stage, menacing. Just, people were not relaxed when I was on stage. But what came out of that is there were two types of people. There were people who had no problem stealing jokes and going out and winning with that and accepting the applause and getting the money. And then there were people who just would never, ever, ever do that. I was in that category, even though, boy, did I need to steal jokes, because I was a pretty bad comedian. So,
what about that sound that we have of you going like, ugh?
Well, that could work. But let me finish. That's what applies here. I know that there's no legal problem. It's just that it makes me feel icky inside if, like, I was going to call it Oh, Come On. Then I realized they do Come On Man on ESPN. So, Give Me a Break. That's a good one. The segment has to do with a story that just makes me think, this is just phony baloney. How about phony baloney?
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll have the sound of...
It's time for phony baloney for November 5th, 2019.
Sounds like fake news.
And we'll have the sound of animals being rendered. As right? Phone. No, that doesn't. You don't find that to be pleasant? Okay, maybe I'm on the wrong track there.
Well, you know what?
Phony baloney.
We won't have to tell people that it's animals being rendered. Someone will think it's like a chainsaw and you're building
That's
a
right,
house
yeah.
and it's time to change the, I don't know.
How about the B word that comes from cows?
The B word that comes from cows. You guys, enough with the alphabet. You're gonna get me in trouble. All right, so you're right, sir. I'm busted. I wasn't thinking of it. Yeah, we're gonna go with phony baloney.
All right.
Eric Von Haessler calls phony baloney.
Wah, wah.
Have you ever had the phony baloney?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's almost as good as the Impossible Burger. They're getting pretty good at it. All right, let's do this.
It's the stories we just couldn't miss. It's the Doctrine Extra.
This is a very special date.
Yes, it is.
Well, you're not ready. So I thought we were starting with this.
I've got it right here.
Remember the 5th of November.
Or as John Lennon said, remember! Takes him forever to get there. The 5th! Uh-huh.
All right.
Which is silly to put an explosion at the end. This is bizarre. Guy Fawkes, that's the Mask. I think the Wall Street occupiers, were they the ones who
Anonymous used it.
Anonymous, right. And so and then V for Vendetta was a movie and those masks.
Yeah, Natalie Portman.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't quite understand this. This is a holiday in England. And I wonder, this is a terrorist who wanted to kill people and he failed. So why is he being celebrated in V for Vendetta and why is it a holiday? Okay, now I understand the holiday part is they're celebrating the fact that he failed. He wanted to blow up the House of Lords, and he was in charge of the gunpowder that was down in the basement underneath, and they got a tip, and they got him, and they tortured him for a few days, and he admitted it, so he's failed. But I didn't see V for Vendetta, so I don't know how much of the actual Guy Fawkes. This movie was about people who were inspired by him, right?
V for Vendetta is set in the future of England. It's a totalitarian state.
Okay.
And the guy wearing the mask is V, and he wants to overthrow Parliament. And
I see. But in this case, it would be the right thing to do because they're oppressed.
Right. And then Anonymous took that mask, and everybody bought the mask, and then
nobody had no idea what it was.
They started out going to Scientology churches and protesting out there, and then it went to the internet.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So Guy Fawkes, he was a big time Catholic, and he wanted to kill King James I because he wanted I think he wanted the Pope to run England, or he at least wanted a Catholic king. So the whole thing fails. They don't assassinate him. They don't blow up the House of Lords. But this is an interesting thing that I did not know about Guy Fawkes. He was sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. And, just one of those things is enough. Yeah. I don't know. It seems a little excessive.
Overkill.
Yeah, I don't. But as he was walking up to the scaffolding, he fell off, broke his neck, and died. He didn't have to go through anything.
He did it on purpose.
And that's why John Lennon still takes so long to say, remember! Yeah. What? I forgot. Did you forget?
Fifth what? Beatle?
Of? Yeah. It shows you that John Lennon quite often didn't know what the hell he was talking about. There's an explosion at the end. There's the whole
Sounds
story
great,
is...
Yoko.
I think it sounds to me, and we don't have English Nick here for this, but it sounds to me like it's almost a 4th of July type of celebration because of the gunpowder. They burn effigies of this guy every year, which I thought they were celebrating. I couldn't understand. They burn effigies of him because it was gunpowder.
It's British.
Yeah, it was gunpowder because there's gunpowder involved.
It's weird. It's the same language, but so hard to understand.
Fireworks. So we speak American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They speak English, and I you know what? For this citizen, I'll take America.
You know what?
Thank you.
I'll chuck it in the bin.
You know what else I'll do? What else I'll do? I will say all kinds of things like that until my audience grows and swells even more. Let me tell you something about America. I love it. My name's Eric Von Haessler.
It's a brave stance.
Thank you. And then, do you have this guy that was yelling at me about who are you voting for or whatever?
Oh, yes,
What's that
I
about?
do.
That's a very personal question, don't you think?
All right, so he's followed up from his first comment. His first comment was, so what is it, Eric? Are you going to vote for Donald Trump? Yes or no?
How dare you?
It's a private vote in this country.
It is private. You don't have to tell anyone.
He followed up with, Eric von Haessler says he's a libertarian, which means absolutely nothing because there is no legitimate libertarian candidate for president.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is...
I know this because somebody told me this.
Who did you vote for? And who are you going to vote for? And if you don't say, then you're just being a coward who's afraid to admit that he's either a liberal or a conservative.
And wouldn't you like that? Because you go to lunch and you talk to all your friends who agree with everything that you think about politics, and you always talk about people like that. And wouldn't you love? Isn't it great to bust people and out them? And don't you know that you're not as good as me? It's quite clear. I could never be as good as this guy. I'm a libertarian. People call me a rhino. Republican in name only. Do you have to be a Republican? Hell no. I'm a lino. I'm a libertarian in name only. I'm a libertarian and I go my own way. I'm a libertarian who doesn't believe in isolationism. What? Wow. Blow my mind, you lino. So get it right. I am not a rhino. I am a lino. And here's another thing. Is this guy brand new to the party? Did he just walk in after we got rid of the last candy? I've been telling people who I voted for last time, to the point that probably people said stop saying that because you're repeating yourself.
Yeah, it's part of the drinking game.
I voted for the pot-smoking goofball. So the idea that there's no legitimate libertarian candidate, so as a Republican, you don't vote for Republicans unless you know they're going to win?
Well, he says his last sentence says, Eric's either a sleazebag voting for Hillary or a stand-up guy and take your pat on the back for voting for Donald Trump kind of guy.
Because there are only those two people. You see, to Robert, is that his name?
Yes.
I don't understand how even anybody else could have a chance from Robert's point of view. Everyone he knows agrees with him. And he's not smart enough to know that that's a problem. That's a problem for whoever you are. If everyone you know agrees with you all the time on politics, you are a very boring person. I'm here on the von Haessler Doctrine to tell you this because your friends won't tell you. You're boring the hell out of them. First of all, you're accusing people of voting for a person who's not even going to be on the ballot, Hillary Clinton. Let me say something to Robert. 3 words. Get over it. She's never going to be president. You know who else is never going to be president? Michelle Obama. 3 words. Get over it. Your guy, Donald Trump, has a great economy going, no shooting wars, and about 32% of the country who would, do a Jonestown if they asked them to. So you should be able to win this election. And you know what? Do you know how you get people to vote with you, Robert? You open your fist. You expose your palm. You extend your hand. You try to persuade. Robert, you are no better than any other American. Robert, you are no more patriotic than any other American. And Robert, it's obviously you're not nearly as intelligent as I am. Robert. Still annoying me.
You had to step out of the room for a second.
It's not just me. It's just the thought. This guys like Robert are absolutely destroying the Republican Party. Absolutely destroying it. First of all, you've got a Republican president. You've got an economy that's still on fire. No shooting wars. So the sell job should almost do itself. And if you don't want to admit to yourself that the personality gets in the way, then that's fine. That's fine. But the problem is that the Republican Party, and to a certain degree the Democrat Party has been going this way for a long time, is so personality driven. And it has nothing to do with policy. When I voted for Romney, I was against tariffs. Voted for Trump, I'm for tariffs. Don't ask me why. Do not ask me why, because I've never even examined it myself. That guy won. I like the fact that he won. Well, what do you think? Well, what did he say? Okay, I think what he said. And that is absolutely, Republicans need to have an answer. Why were tariffs bad for 100 years? Actually, I should say almost. Since I was a kid, Republicans have blamed the Great Depression on tariffs and said, you put us in power, we're not going to make that mistake. Now, I could argue there's a nuanced thing. This isn't tariffs in the classic sense. It's tariffs as leverage. It's whereas the old tariffs were really about some sort of economic hit. I think Trump sees the country as, because it's so big, because it's so powerful, it's always had leverage that diplomats wouldn't use because they thought it would look bad. Because we're so powerful, you have to be nice to people. That's good, but put it together. Put it together and be able to answer the question. Say these aren't real tariffs. Trump's idea is different. But instead, if you ask someone, what do you think? Well, what did he say? That's what I think. And this other part with the Republican Party, as I said, when I was young, when I say young, I'm talking 20. I was very into politics, and I was very much on the left. And I worked at a place called the Spring House in Rochester, New York. It was an old kind of like stately, it was a weird place to work because it was at one point it was kind of a mansion.
Okay.
So you had to I would bus tables and you have to go down like these narrow stairs, like it was like a whole house, but it was a 5-star restaurant and real high-end clientele. And before Gary Hart became a joke, I was into Gary Hart that year. And I ended up voting for Mondale because it was the first time I ever voted and I was a Democrat. But I was into Gary Hart during the primary. And I was working the night that Gary Hart spoke at the convention. And I was in the bar area and it was all Republicans and me, a 20-year-old lefty. And conversation is going and Gary Hart starts speaking and the guy says, well, why do you like him? And he tells me he's a Republican. He's probably about 50 years old, businessman. And he totally disagrees with me, but he's having a conversation with me and it's pleasant. And at one point, this guy must have been a high roller. At one point, somebody else that is on the staff says, hey, Haessler, we got some tables over and whatever. And this guy stands up and goes, no, find somebody else. This is his favorite candidate. He's speaking. Let him watch this. And that was always my experience when I was on the left, was that people on the right were always humorous and they were always open. And even if I think in his mind, he thought, if you're 20 and you're this into it, we'll get you eventually. You know, it's almost like a farm team. Yeah, you're 20, you're a Democrat, they all are. But we'll encourage you to be really interested in politics because we believe in our answers. And you look like an intelligent young man. So I'm not going to discourage you from watching your favorite lefty candidate. I'm going to encourage it. I'm going to encourage you to be more involved in politics. Now, with the reverse of that, when I finally changed in my late 20s, and it was during the Contract with America thing. So my jump was from left to Republican. Within a couple of years, they let me down, and I ended up libertarian, found where my beliefs really, really were. But when I decided to become, at first, a Republican on my way to becoming a libertarian, my old leftist friends treated me like crap. Like crap. First of all, didn't respect the process of intelligence, my thinking, why I got there. Who got to you? That's it. Who got to you? Who brainwashed you? It wasn't even possible for them to understand that I just went through a process myself and decided that these programs that we talk about don't work, they don't help anybody, and I'm kind of getting turned on by the possibilities of capitalism. But no one on the left would talk to me. I had some very close friends. They're my friends. Nothing to do about it. But more of the people, I lost a lot of people on the outer edge. Somebody got to you. You're a zombie. Okay? Now, that Republican Party, that while I was a leftist and nearly a socialist in every circle, that's just one example. My in-laws were Republicans and had some money and doctors and lawyers sitting around. They always encouraged me to stay in the room. I was against deregulation. You know, they always encouraged the conversation. To see the Republican Party turn into talk radio 24 hours a day. Talk radio is great. I'm on it. It's not politics. Politics is the art of persuasion. And I could have the same rant about the left, but I already let you know that I had that experience when I made the switch. People like Robert are ruining the Republican Party. If you want to win office, any office, you need to go out and persuade people. And you do that with an open hand, not a closed fist.
So what's your answer, Eric?
My answer is whoever the goofball libertarian is, that's who I'm going to vote for, and he's going to lose. And unlike you, I'm used to losing when I vote, so it doesn't bother me. It also keeps me independent. All right, that music says we're done. We're going to go over to the Von Haessler Doctrine Facebook page or the WSB Radio Facebook page.
That's right.
Red box, you click on it. You can watch us do the Podcast 30. Tad Lemire there from B98 point whatever will be joining us. We have a great time with the Podcast 30. Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. All right. Where's the drop, Jared?
It's coming.
Where's the drop?
It's coming.
Damn it, where's the drop?
It's coming.
Damn it. I can't wait.
It's like that John Lennon song.
I know. Podcast 30 starts right now. Tim Andrews is here. English Nick joins us.
Boy.
Yeah, they got that Jared Yamamoto.
Happy to be back.
Doing a great job today. Did not need to come back. Came back because he's a great person and a great employee. And
Great American.
Great American.
That's right.
Thanks, Sean.
Tad Lemire joins us from B98 point whatever.
Before we get on this,
No,
I'm not doing my introductions.
oh, sorry.
Also, Autumn Fisher. Do you not like Autumn Fisher, Tad?
No, I just.
We got a problem with Autumn now?
Well, no,
I fired Greg
I was
for
saying
you.
that in lieu of hello.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to just say that Tad is also a great American.
Is he a great American?
He invited me to the Hawks game tonight.
Oh, I was thinking about going to the Hawks game
Well,
tonight.
come on, we're all going.
Well, we don't need tickets. There's 2 tickets. So I'm going to go
I can
sit
try.
somewhere. John Collins is out for 25 games.
Yep.
Because he took the growth hormones. But Trey Young's coming back.
Yeah.
So who do they play? They play Sacramento tonight.
No.
I thought
Spurs.
it was
Spurs tonight.
Why don't I San Antonio? I was thinking
Right.
the Spurs.
Same
Yeah, it starts with
S.
It starts with an S.
Oldham's excited about
There's
that.
an A in there. They
Noise.
both
Yeah.
Sac, San.
Yeah.
It's
Close.
understandable. It's understandable.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. What are you doing? What,
You haven't introduced her yet.
I did. I said Autumn Fisher is here.
I didn't. Oh, did you start the show already?
Yeah. We already
Oh.
started the show. Are you?
I didn't hear. I
Lord.
just started.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the show's been started, and everybody said hello, and we thought you were being a jerk by not saying
No.
hello back. We didn't know.
It just
We didn't know.
I was hearing Herman Cain talk forever.
Hold on. Let me move that cursor off your face.
Shuggy Duggy.
Thank you.
Hey, let's put on some lipstick. Yeah, you ready?
That's not what I'd be doing with it.
Oh, hey!
What?
Hey!
What?
Hey!
Hi, folks.
Oh, for heaven's
Can
sake.
I
This
ask?
sexy like this?
Yeah.
A little closer.
Hey, look, we do have a tour coming through.
Hi, folks.
Mum and Dad celebrating Guy Fawkes Day in England today, November 5th. Sorry about Tim Andrews and his,
What did I do?
all that sexy stuff he does.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a
Yeah.
big day over there. Now, okay, so you hit me with that audio, and then I'll hit you with John Lennon, and we'll find out exactly what this is. Do you have the? Every time I ask for the 5th of November audio, he doesn't have it.
Remember the 5th of November.
Now, that guy said it economically. I don't know if Lennon was half awake when he recorded this. It takes him
Oh,
forever.
yeah.
Did you forget? Yeah. Of? Oh, yeah.
He's stoned.
Yeah, and then there's an explosion, but there was no explosion. The whole story is that
They
thwarted it.
Yeah.
Now, I never understood that. And Guy Fawkes is the V for Vendetta mask guy
That's
that
right.
everybody's taken
That's what
since
it's
then.
based on.
I've never understood the whole thing. I just now have begun to understand.
Sure.
You celebrate. So this guy tried to blow up the House of Lords.
But
he
in
was
fact,
in
he
charge
didn't.
of the gunpowder. I was like, why are they celebrating a terrorist who failed? But he failed to blow up the House of
Yeah.
Lords. And I feel like, let me throw this in there, that the English needed a fireworks 4th of July kind of holiday. The gunpowder involved in this story, because isn't it a little bit like that? The celebration is fireworks
So,
and
yeah, people in their backyards with fireworks, trying not to blow off their fingers.
yeah.
Or
Not if they have my neighbor.
huge organized firework displays in major cities and
So
some
it's like
smaller
4th
towns.
of July here.
And then the couple of weeks running up to November 5th, the kids make Guy Fawkes like scarecrows.
Okay, and they
push them around, and it used to be like a penny for the guy, probably a pound for the guy,
and you burn them in effigy.
And then when you get to the town or wherever the big bonfire is, you throw them all on there.
Yeah. Now did you know this?
And it was all about I think it was either
He wanted a Catholic king
over Protestant.
He wanted
yeah.
a Catholic king, or probably would have wanted the Pope to run England
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
And that was it. And he was just, if you look at his story, he's all over Europe trying to start wars. This guy just liked to fight, you know. And
like
he was
ISIS
big time.
back then.
If Catholics don't run everything, then it's not a good world. Now, did you know the Guy Fawkes story at all?
No,
'Cause
I'm just learning.
I made myself aware of this. Did you know that he was sentenced? I just said this at the end of the show, so I'm sorry for repeating myself. Sorry for apologizing. He was sentenced.
I'm sorry for being sorry.
He was sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered.
Yeah.
Now, so I think in the middle there, an artist comes in after you're hanged and.
No. They draw the blood from me. I believe.
Okay. Hanged,
Yeah.
drawn. I know what
And
quartered
then
is.
quartered
Quartered
is-
is each limb is tied to 4 different horses, and they go whack. So that
End
was
of that.
he was going to be hanged. Aren't you dead already when you're
Well, I
hanged?
want to make sure. You had to make it a sound.
Hanged,
didn't
drawn, and quartered.
Well,
But
and sometimes
in
they
that
would
order?
they would take the quarters of someone and send them to people to
Yeah.
make sure that they know.
Send
Honestly,
a message.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but on the way up as he was going up the scaffolding to be hanged, He tripped or something. He fell off the scaffolding, broke his neck, and died.
I'd forgotten that.
He got out of the whole torture
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
Although I think they did torture him for a couple of weeks before he confessed.
You know, Autumn talks about the
Why
four...
do you need to confess? He's sitting on the gunpowder.
Yeah, they find him there. I think somebody within his circle blew the whistle or something.
Yeah, they were told.
Yeah.
They were told they got a letter like 2 weeks in advance. On this night, you need to check this chamber or whatever, the basement.
I can guarantee if you're attached, if all four limbs are attached to four horses, or maybe it's two horses and they just go in, I'll be halves. But
I think it's four. 'Cause I think they go in all four directions.
I don't think you get equal quarters. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah,
get
it's like pulling the
arm will come off.
wishbone.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have a
The
stronger
trick is
horse.
not to pull.
Or you might have a weak muscle in your right arm, and
Yeah.
that goes away first.
So
you know?
they
Yeah,
really
like you have a dislocated shoulder. It always pops out of joint. And,
And then
that's
whoever
the first
gets
to go.
sent hey, you gypped me. I only got an arm. Where's the rest of the torso I should be having?
I'd crush it up and feed it to their children.
The pigs.
Yeah, they'll show.
Oh, so okay, I'm looking up. I googled what happens when you're quartered.
Yeah.
And
This is not a tip.
No, there's some, like Renaissance illustration of what happens. And there's a guy. Okay, so there's four horses attached to the four limbs, like we're imagining.
Yeah.
But then there's a guy with like a big axe with his arms held back. So I think that he kind of helps chop him up or something as he's getting quartered.
Get him ready for the quartering.
Yeah.
So maybe it is more of an equal distribution than we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like scores it for the horses.
Yeah.
I've been scoring boaties for the last 30 years. Now I'm retired.
Ang bodies.
It was a good life.
A good patriot. Well, you were.
It beats government work.
Yeah, it certainly does. It is government work.
Private, eh? Me
Yeah,
boss
they
is
bring in
private, eh?
private companies to do the hanging and the drawing.
We
and the
do it all
quartering.
over the UK.
So I wasn't invited. I wasn't the guy that you thought about inviting to the Atlanta Hawks. That's interesting to me.
Well, he texted me last time. I enjoyed Tad's
You're Mr. OTP.
It is true. Oh,
You wouldn't come.
Well, I mean, I would. I was actually thinking about going to this one, but they're down Collins. I want to be there with it. So they're playing the Spurs.
I think they're bringing back Trae Young a little quick too. I think
Are
he's found
they?
a week. This
You
is
guys-
They're saying it just wasn't much of a thing.
sprained ankle is that can nag you.
I hope
though.
I'm not doing it too soon. Lose a few games up front.
Hey,
Yeah.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
have-
That's a stereo
This is
question.
why we're in sync. This is why we're going to the game together.
No, that's
Were
right.
I
Like
to
Justin
secure you a
Timberlake and-
ticket,
What?
because this could happen, right? I could send a text and secure you a ticket. So will you go? See, this is what
On
I'm
the spot.
talking about.
All right,
exactly.
Hold on.
I responded within 3 minutes last night.
Who? I didn't get much sleep last night.
See? This is my point. And
Are you sitting in the rafters or are you being fatade?
lower. We're not sitting on the court, but we're sitting in like the lower realm.
The
as far as
club
I know.
level, was it?
Yeah, we're not in a suite.
Who are you getting the tickets from?
The person that runs the scoreboard, a friend that works at Feld.
He's your friend.
She.
You know the guy.
She. How
I'm
sexist.
sorry.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Triggered.
How dare you?
I mean, you think that would make sense, though. I get it.
I also have a question.
I'm trying to play to the future, not the past.
The last time you and Jared saw
Don't call
Trae
me
Young,
a boy. I'm a grown man.
you men, the last time you blokes hung out with Trae Young, that was right before he hurt his ankle. What happened that day?
No. It was
Did
right
Jared-
before.
Jared
no,
play him too hard?
He played a game the next day. It was right before he dropped 39 points in game 2.
Yes,
is what it was.
if anything, Eric and I warmed him up for the next game because he got more points.
Yeah, but he was thinking about it when he hurt his ankle.
As we were leaving the court, Trae Young said, "Hey, thank you,
Yeah.
because you have reminded me why I love the game of basketball."
Wow.
No, that happened in my mind. He didn't really do that, but
Well, I saw the video
he
that
could
Jesse
have.
put together.
There you go, kid.
The video
Is it-
that Jesse put
yeah.
together is great.
Is it too long?
No.
As some of the digital people. Oh, 2.5 minutes. Oh,
You're
no, no.
still on this.
It's awesome.
No
I
one's
remember
shared
hearing
it.
about that.
No one's watched it. It's too long.
Right.
Too long.
Too
We have
long,
not
too
really.
much.
We got to promote it because everything happened. Your mom. I got sick for a couple of days right after it happened. We haven't really
Yeah,
promoted
I didn't even find out how you got sick. What happened?
it. That's my business.
Yeah,
okay.
That's my business.
Tummy ache?
I have.
Trey.
No, I got more than
Tummy
tummy ache.
ache?
Trey sneezing
You know,
all
you know,
over him.
No, I never told you. I never told you guys when we talked about that. I was so sick at one point. I think it was it was after I called in sick the first day, and then going into the next. So he's like, "Am I going to work tomorrow? Whatever. And what's going to be the thing that decides whether I go to work tomorrow?" I thought, like, I had this low grade kind of vertigo anyway. So when things get worse, I'm at my stomach and my head, and I get really dizzy. and I thought, I think I'm going to throw up, and I think I can make it. I can make it to the bathroom, and I actually collapsed.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I skinned up my knee. My knee is all skinned up.
What?
And
Because of the dizziness, or
because of the dizziness, I
Yeah.
thought I could make it. I ended up vomiting on the floor.
I was
going to
say, I thought that's what you were going to say.
But I mean, and since then, I really didn't think about it then. But since then, I thought, I could have banged my head just as easy as I banged my
choked
knee.
on your vomit
No,
or
I fell down face first. I wouldn't have choked on my vomit.
When was your last physical, man?
Just a couple months ago. I'm fine. It's
Yeah,
just
there
I had
are
some kind of stomach virus or something.
Man.
And I shouldn't.
And you were alone, right? 'Cause
I was
your
alone.
wife
No,
was
that's
gone.
the thing.
Here's the thing. Your
Yeah.
wife is so much smaller and you wouldn't matter if she was there. She can't
She
catch
could
you.
have called somebody.
Yeah, maybe.
She's going to carry him to the
No,
hospital.
can't catch you.
It didn't occur to me at the time. It was like 2 days later. I thought, well, I was alone in the house, and no one was going to walk into that house until Sunday.
And what day was it?
This was Wednesday going into Thursday.
Were you just in your underwear?
I had pants on. I looked respectable. All right.
That's
You would have found me dead next to a pile of vomit. And I remember when I was, because I was so kind of out of it and feverish and just chilled, but I remember looking at. I don't mean to be gross here. But you have to be a Twin Peaks fan to understand. It was just like that Dougie Jones Garment Bosa scene.
In the
you know,
car.
I was laying there. I was laying there like, well, it just to me it looked just like that. I thought, oh my God,
Do you have ringing in your ears ever?
I've had tinnitus since I was like 20.
You may have to get checked for Meniere's disease.
I may have it. I've told people I've had a low grade chronic vertigo since my 20s.
What is Meniere's disease?
It's basically it's a vertigo that doesn't go away.
It's
right?
an inner ear problem that causes nausea and
you have to
imbalance.
remember, I had 5 operations on my ears before I was 13.
My dad has it.
So I've had every time I go to a new doctor and they check in my ears, it's always like the moment where you go, whoa, okay, a lot of scar tissue here. What went on here? So there's that, and so I deal with it on a daily basis, in a low grade, manageable kind of way.
You're a survivor.
And then every once in a while, I'm not asking for your.
You're so brave.
It's so brave.
So you
I
get
carry all the
dizzy,
scar tissue. I carry my scar tissue in
Yes,
my ears.
I know.
Do you have to, like,
my ears are scarred but smarter.
steady
Yes.
yourself.
What?
You find yourself like you're walking along. You have to steady yourself. Or?
Usually, if it's at the low grade thing, it doesn't go that far. It's just a matter of I just know myself, and so I won't push myself at certain times. And then once every couple of years, it gets bad, and like I can't walk, and then that goes. Last time that really happened to me was in the 90s. But I've had a couple of times where I couldn't get up. I just couldn't get up because the whole world was just.
Oh yeah,
I'm not spinning necessarily, but just you can't. You just stand up, and just like I felt before I fell down on the floor, it's just the body just goes, no, this is too weird. The world's moving. You're walking, just.
That's how I felt when I was talking about that diva cup.
I don't. Oh yeah. You get the weird kind of
It's that vasovagal nerve.
Yeah, it's something like that, right? There's some kind of thing.
It's a fainting thing. It's the same thing that like the Southern Belles because they
Oh.
pulse. It's too
Yeah, the
tight.
vapors.
I do declare.
The vapors.
I got the vapors, Ted. Oh Lord, I was Tennessee Williams.
Turn to Japanese.
The Southern Tennessee Williams play lady. It's like, oh Lord, it's powerful hot, and I hear that train whistle off in the distant moan.
Here's Miss Scarlett's Vittles.
That's not Tennessee Williams.
I know. I can't help myself.
Remember that? There was a TV show with Patrick Swayze, and it was called North and South.
That was a
Civil
two-part
War.
miniseries. It was a very
Oh.
long miniseries. There were 2 parts.
But
It
I
was
remember there
awesome.
was a scene where he comes up on this young Southern maiden, and she's like, "I do declare, Mr. So-and-so, and I have never in all my born days seen such a whatever
Well,
she
no
was talking
wonder
about."
they were fainting all the time in the sun.
No
It was
AC.
It's 100 degrees, and they're wearing like these things. I was watching.
Cover up those ankles,
my
young
wi-
lady.
these hoop things. My wife was watching something when I got home yesterday, and it was Victorian English. And everybody's all dressed up, and these ladies are obviously dressed in the garb of the day. These big, I don't know if even hoop dresses. They're Victorian, but
The
they're,
thing with the framework that goes out. Yeah,
the framework. Yeah, and I just said
No,
to my-
below that.
Yeah, I
the
said
skirt part.
to my wife, how did they pee? Like, you have to pee like 5-6 times a day. What do they have, like construction sites that they want? Do they lower them down?
Or bring a welder in?
They were tougher back then, Eric. They
just
learned
held
it.
it?
They learned, they held it, and they also learned to deal with the heat.
Maybe it was just a hole in the floor back then. So
My Gatorade bottle.
Yeah, if you think about it, people were drinking much less in general back then. But all of their underwear, none of their underwear was snug up against their body. If it was just an elastic, or not even elastic, but just some like cinched piece down by the bottom of their leg.
But I'm talking about that stuff. It looks like a float in a parade with all the
but
scaffolding.
that's easy to gather up.
But you're sitting down with wiring. There's some kind of wiring involved there.
Maybe
Like,
they
it
unclipped it when they went to the bathroom.
It's like stepping inside of a
Took that
bird
part
cage
off.
and putting linen over it.
No, but it's I guess, was it boning back then?
All I know is there had to be a structure underneath this thing.
Yes,
there
there is.
So
but
every
it's
time,
easily lifted and gathered together.
But,
It's like
but they didn't even have toilets like we do. They had to go sit on. They had to pull
What
that
did
thing
they
up.
have?
Chamber pot.
Chamber pots.
Wait,
And
wait,
and
wait.
and
the
little
outhouse.
people.
The outhouse.
No,
though.
not then. In Victorian England.
All
they
right,
had-
so let's say they have
hold
a
on,
little
hold on,
bowl.
Hold on, one thing at a time. In Victorian England, if you were rich, the poor house servants came along and emptied the bowl underneath. He sat on almost. You know how when you well, you wouldn't know, but
Like a
Autumn knows.
commode.
Well, no, when you train your child, potty train your child,
yeah.
it was that kind of setup. You would sit down like our toilet bowls, but then it would just be caught, and then the servant would come in afterward, remove it, clean the pot, put it back for you.
You know what I bet is the case? I bet you don't even sit down. You pick up that thing, right?
Yeah.
The chamber pot, and maybe you just like hold it up against you and you
but
pee
you
into that.
Yeah,
and you
if
don't
you're
have
wearing
to like.
white, if you're wearing white,
No,
one
but
little
if
drop.
anything, yes, one little drop. Where's it going to get? On the outside? No, it's going to get on some sort of million of layers underneath.
It's the original sheepy.
Yeah, exactly.
Sheep.
Right.
The sheeness.
And their underwear,
Sheeness.
like I said, their underwear had long, breaks in the middle so that you could like open
Look,
that stuff up.
My only point is it had to be one crazy pain in the ass.
Oh,
I mean, I don't
poo,
know.
I think
Oh,
is
they had no
what's
TV
really
to
the-
watch.
Yeah, but
did
you
they?
only do that once or twice a day. I mean,
Speak
you
for
whiz
yourself.
a lot.
Some people
Well, you don't have
back
a
then didn't
gallbladder.
have gallbladders. Okay.
Think about it. All they did was walk around, ride horses. There was no TV. There was no cinema. There was nothing to
Plenty
watch.
of time to poo.
A couple of plays on. The old
Yeah.
Village Idiot
But
was
let's
put
think
on
of
to
that.
play.
Let's think of that. The ladies get all dressed up in this stuff and go out to the opera. Well, now you got to go to the bathroom in public.
No, I made water
I couldn't
beforehand.
imagine waiting intermission for the next lady to get done with their business,
Take
and
a
then
minute,
you're like,
But
Yeah.
that's
I
the
guess
thing.
I gotta
feel
hold
like
it.
people didn't do that.
They had a ditch out back.
Autumn, people, when you're young, you have control of your bladder, but there were 60-year-old women at operas. I mean, they had less medicine than we do now.
I know. I'm
They
just
didn't have
wondering.
the pill I take.
Why do you think
But,
they had a
wait,
dirt
but they
floor?
aren't drinking anything.
Sure they are.
What, like a tiny little bit? When we go now, it's like I need a water and I need to get. I'm getting a wine.
I think
and
people
then
were
I'm getting
drinking
another
glasses
wine.
of water.
What is your source, Autumn? I'm very
Oh,
curious
she knows
about this.
all
People
about
just didn't
Victoria.
drink that much
Think
back
about
in the
it.
day.
Think about the past.
You went down
we,
the wrong trail there.
We drink so much, and
You're making this up, though. I get your point, but this is not a fact.
Well, do you know it's not a fact?
Well, because like you, do I know it's not a fact?
I'm saying
No,
if
listen,
you don't know it's not a fact, I'm coming up with an idea. Maybe
No,
it's this.
okay, maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. Because just like you, everything I know about Victorian England comes from movies, unlike you, some books. But that's
I don't
really
know
all
how
I
to
know.
read. That's not my
no,
problem.
I didn't say it was. You can read, but I don't know about the last.
No, it's my pretend joke I've been going with that I don't know how to read.
You don't know how to read?
That's
the
The
best.
bloomers had no crotches. They were leg coverings that were left split wide and droopy. Usually
What
from
did I
the,
just say?
Hold on. Is this,
This
underneath
is
that.
Victorian women.
Yes.
This allowed a woman to either use a chamber pot, outhouse, or early toilet just by flipping her skirts, which were many, which they needed to.
It's still a pain in the ass, is my point.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't saying it was impossible. I was saying
So you're
that
saying
it had
they're
to be a pain in the ass.
crotchless bloomers.
Well,
And it
it's
had
not.
to stink like hell.
Oh,
Everybody was dressed in 8 layers of clothing, and then you get till like 6 p.m. and you're gonna have some romantic time. Oh my God! Everything must have smelled like awful back then.
The bidet is named after a small extinct donkey because you had to straddle it. And they used corn cobs.
Yeah, well, so they did that in the South here too.
Corn cobs.
Corn
still
cobs,
use them.
corn
It's
cobs were
natural.
perfect because of the fact that it would absorb as
Yeah.
well as.
Is that where cornhole came from?
Probably.
No, cornhole comes from the gay slur comes from the game cornhole.
Are you
No,
sure?
that's been
because
around
you're
longer than the
trying-
game.
I think cornhole was around. No,
What are
cornhole's
you
the last
trying
10
to do?
years.
You're trying to put it in the hole.
Cornhole's new.
No, cornhole's been around forever.
No.
Yes, there was in Rochester. There was an area, kind of a ritzy area that was named Corn.
You're right, Eric.
Of course, I'm right.
Oh, Oldham.
Hold on, stop for 1 second. What are you trying to do in the game cornhole? Put something in the hole. The slur came from the game.
1930s. Apparently, the reference is to a game played in the farming regions of the Ohio Valley in the 19th century, in which players take turns throwing a small bag of feed corn at a raised platform with a hole in it.
And now it's popular. People play cornhole. There's cornhole tournaments now.
Yeah, cornhole's fun.
It's great. But people always say, why would they call it? They didn't call the game after the gay slur. It went the other way.
I didn't know.
They were throwing bags of corn through a
I
hole.
thought cornhole was because they used the corn.
Right.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The source Autumn.
Well,
and
see, now that sounds like it
That's
makes
what
sense.
I'm saying.
That's what I was saying.
That's what you were saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
that's
wasn't saying the
Tad
gay
said.
slur. I
Let
was saying
me
this is where. Well, please.
Let me take this time
in the Victorian
to apologize
style.
to
Yeah.
you, sir. I apologize.
Thank you.
this source that you
I
pulled
think
up
Autumn said it too, but
You
I'm not
got my
apologizing to a
dress in a
woman.
ruffle.
in the
What is anybody saying?
in the 9th paragraph. They misspell cornhole. They put con or hole.
Well, no, that
It's-
was James Conner.
Yeah.
That's why the
Running
new
back for
Terminator
the-
movie flopped, because it didn't have that in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the site that
I'll be back, John Connor Hall.
Cornhole Mart mastered the game of cornhole.
I'm in your back.
That's not where I got that information from.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, I feel like Autumn
pulled
didn't
it out
know
of your
about
corner.
I feel like I'm deconstructing this. I feel like Autumn doesn't know about the game, and you just saw the game for the first time.
No, I know about the game.
Oh.
My husband's from Wisconsin. Of
Okay,
course I know about the game.
so what you're saying is what you're reading says that the slur did come from that.
Correct.
But you make sense to me if people use corn as toilet paper.
That's what I was
No,
thinking.
that's what Tad said.
No, that's,
I said it as
Tad
well.
said it first.
Who
I'm
said it?
so.
I didn't say it.
Keep
Are you-
up, Eric. Let's
I
go.
can't keep up. You know.
Listen, I have something else to tell you.
I'm getting dizzy.
You love me?
I do love you. That's
love you
the
too.
number one.
Mhm.
Number two, Guy Fawkes didn't fall off. He jumped off of the scaffolding so that his neck would break with the noose in it.
Oh,
because the
okay.
plan was for that. Because what they do when they draw and quarter, apparently it's like draw and quarter is like all of the other execution things plus the ripping them apart by horses. It's
Right.
like you get disemboweled, they cut off your genitals.
Right. Well, you got to
then
get the
they-
message across.
Yeah, so they do
Yeah.
it all, and they hang you. And so the first
Yeah.
step in draw and quartering is they hang you, but just not to death.
I got
So
you.
what
you're
he
still-
did was he
oh.
walked up to the scaffolding
He
and
killed
just jumped
himself.
off and killed himself that way.
Coward. What a coward.
No, yeah, he should have taken it like a man.
Yeah.
I don't know what these crowds used to show up. We're going to watch a guy get drawn and quartered. Hey, how can we get the message across to young men not to do this? Cut his balls off.
And they burn them in front of them. But I don't understand how that stuff
Oh,
doesn't
gee.
happen and then they don't die. Why aren't they dead?
Well, it takes
that
a while.
point-
It takes a while to bleed out.
Bleed
If you do
out,
it-
They
if you do
probably
it-
cauterize it
if you
after
do
they cut it off.
If you do it fast enough. I mean, people look. It's a show.
doubt it.
It's a show, and you can't do it all in the first act. People show up.
That's true. Is there an intermission? You're like, please don't die during intermission. We have draw and quartering
Yeah.
next.
Wolf nipple chips.
They must have
Remember that?
offered some sort of incentive to show up to that because it is a deterrent. Like if you see this happening
No,
to
it's
somebody, then you,
entertainment, man.
No,
Yeah,
it's
no one had
entertainment.
anything to
Yeah.
do.
No one had anything to do. It was a huge thing. Going into town, we're going to see somebody get drawn and quartered.
They're a bad
Bring the
guy.
kids. It's
Really?
family friendly. It was
No
their version
prizes?
of. Yeah, they didn't have Disney back then.
no,
it was their
no
version.
raffle?
I think there probably were. That's the wolf nipple chips. That's the at the what is it? Monty Python Life of Brian when they're at the games in the Coliseum where people are being slaughtered and the guy's walking around as a vendor. Wolf nipple chips.
Brilliant.
That's what it was like. It was like going to a ball game.
I guarantee at those hangings there was some of that going on probably.
Oh yes,
You know?
they were big nights out. Ladies got dressed up. They knew they weren't going to be able to pee again for 8 hours. Till they got home. What was
Wasn't a big deal.
What was that line like? Like at an outhouse at a public event, a bunch of ladies in hoop skirts.
I feel like it must have been like a trough.
Oh, that's disgusting.
I think the upper class were getting close to having some proper toilets at some point of that.
Yeah, but not for
point in
public events.
No, no.
I bet you the real upper class brought their chamber pots with them, and they would go inside their little thing, and it's almost like when a player gets injured now in the NFL, they put them in that
Go in a
tent.
tent. Yeah.
Autumn might be right about people not drinking as much because it's possible
Everybody
that people
carries
weren't
water
drinking
around,
because they didn't want to have to face the bathroom later
Yeah.
on.
Show
so-
turn.
Hold
Oh,
on.
now
Which
Ted.
came first?
Ted makes a good point.
Hold on.
Interesting.
Hold on. Hold on. The
hell
truth.
is going
Thank you.
on?
The
Finally.
truth. You want
That's
the truth?
crazy.
The truth is they drank a lot of beer because you couldn't trust the water. the water would make you sick quite
You know
often,
what
and that's why. So people were drinking beer and drunk constantly back then because beer was water.
I found out about the origins of IPA beer this weekend.
India Pale Ale.
Yeah, so when they were
I thought it was a white guy named Al.
No. When they were on long journeys on ships, people would get sick from the water. It wasn't potable, right?
Yeah.
So they would take whatever the beer they had, and they'd add berries and stuff to it, and that was where the IPA flavor came from.
Yeah, because the
Because
distilling.
they didn't even give beer to the kids because it was all they had to hydrate on.
Hey, and
the
you know,
distilling
I
process
I
makes
heard
it
too
safer.
that when people were on long journeys and ships and stuff, they couldn't have the water because it wasn't potable, right?
That's what I
so
just
they
said.
started adding berries to it.
That's
No,
and
Adam,
that's
that's
how.
not right.
No one
Adam,
dis-
what's your source?
Hang on.
What is your source?
That is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Hold on.
no.
No one disagreed with me.
Sometimes I have to wonder why I have a woman on the show.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What do I know?
Hey, the fellas need sandwiches.
Wow.
Put the kettle on. The truth is, they didn't drink water because it would give you dysentery, but they drink a lot
that's
of
not
beer.
what I was arguing.
Well, beer has to come out too. And even the kids.
I'm saying I don't think that people were at events
They drank.
drinking
They weren't.
like
There wasn't a 20-ounce beer.
Right.
So there wasn't like a.
You
if
put
they
it in
had
goblet,
anything to
a
drink,
goblet
it
or a
probably
little.
was a little tiny like
And the lady,
aperitif.
Ladies had a sherry glass. I guarantee it.
Exactly.
Little tiny
like
sherry.
Castle
And
White.
how many ounces is
You know what
that?
they
Like
had?
2
I'll tell you what they
ounces?
had. Well, I'm so glad I wasn't alive then. I'll tell you what they had. They didn't have razors to shave their legs. They stunk to high heaven. Everybody stunk so much that they just might have perfumes.
They were using
'Cause
corn to
they
do
just-
you know what?
Yeah, you just yeah.
But wait,
How
they had to
clean can you
drink-
get yourself down there in that
They
situation?
had to drink beer instead of water.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you were growing up in a time like that?
No, because everybody was an alcoholic by the time they were 13 because the kids had to drink it too. What would be the fun?
No, but when you're an
You, sir, I've
alcoholic
seen-
back then,
Have you ever
you're
seen
like
Ted-
the leader of an army or
Yeah.
something
You ever
because
seen Tad
alcoholics are
when
the
he's
ones
drunk?
that survive.
You ever see Tab when he's drunk?
Yeah, of course.
Ooh, that fella. Can
I've
be
been
drunk.
around it.
You have.
I've been around
Yes,
it.
I have. at
The only
Christmas
person that
party.
has is
Christmas.
Nick, Jared.
No, Autumn was at the
Autumn.
Christmas thing. That
Yeah,
thing
you're like,
that
where are we
ended up at
going
karaoke.
now?
I don't remember
Where are we
seeing her there.
going?
Where are we going now? He gets very frat boy.
Where are we going now?
That happened when we left Elton John last year. Not this time around, but last year.
Yeah.
And I was off from karaoke, so he's like, let's go to the Claremont Lounge. I'm like, all right, sure.
That's
Let's
my
go to the
go-to.
Oh, really?
That's when you know. I know.
I don't find it fun.
I know the people that work there, so when I go there, it's just like talking to
Yeah,
people
but
I know.
you don't have to necessarily go to the lounge.
I
though. You
turn
can go,
away from.
Well, no,
You
I
go to the
turn-
rooftop. You go to Tiny Lou's.
Oh, no. He
Yeah,
wanted
it's
to
a
go to the lounge,
celebration of
Jared.
the human body.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah.
I'm an
In
idealist.
all shapes and forms.
I'm an idealist.
Right.
Yeah.
If I go to
No
look
judgment.
at somebody nude, then my thing. First of all, I don't do that because I find it to be frustrating at best. Give somebody money and there's no relief. You go home and you're just by yourself or with your wife.
I
anyway.
like that the women are not perfect. That it is a celebration. Like I just think it's really
Well,
must
see,
be very
but-
liberating for them. And
Why?
He
Why
likes,
is it
he likes
liberating?
a thicker
Celebration is
milkshake.
wonderful.
Is what
No,
he
It's
that's not
liberating-
true. I
it's
just like
it's liberating to have college students come in on a Friday night and basically mock you to your face.
Well, but
that's
also
not what happens.
Oh, that's what's happening.
That's not what I'm doing.
No, I've
That's
seen
not
that.
what
I've
I'm
seen
you're
that.
doing.
I've seen that.
They've changed their business model too. Now they have models or dancers that are of all
Younger.
shapes and
I know.
sizes, younger.
You know, the worst part is if you sit on the side of the bar, you know how they're in the middle?
Yeah.
If you sit on the side of the bar where the wall's behind you, there's almost no room.
Yeah.
And so this one lady who wasn't super huge or anything, she was, relatively attractive. She was probably like 28, 29. I don't know what her meth problem was or whatever. But it was a weird thing. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I just always assume that. I'm kidding. So she does her whole thing, and it's a slow kind of striptease, right? And she does it, and oh, yay, and the place is packed. And then when her song is over, or a couple of songs, when they're over, it's done, and the music comes back
comes
on.
back behind you.
Well, no, but she gathers up all her clothes, like she's leaving her house at 3 a.m. or something, and then she has to walk out behind you between your back and
And
the
she
wall.
thanks you for the money you've given her.
It's
It's right.
like 1 foot. And it's just a weird thing where she's just picking up her clothes and meekly, trying to get out of there. It's like I don't want to see that. I don't want to see the people strike the set.
That's part of the charm, though.
I
you
like
know?
it myself.
It's
It
not part
doesn't
of the
feel like
charm.
any other strip club, the Claremont.
If I
agree.
go, I don't like
Charm.
strip clubs to begin with, but
Right.
if I'm going to, I know you do. If I'm going to,
Shut up.
no, not shut up. If I'm going to go to if I'm going to gawk at women,
Yeah.
I'm going to have this idealist idea of I want to see women that I've never had a chance with. I want to see women that are just like, I wouldn't see a woman like that nude right in front of me. That's not my thing.
So
but if it was my thing, I would want to go see my aunt, Stella,
Yeah,
take
you
her
might.
clothes off.
That's the whole thing. I don't think it's making fun of, and I would sooner go to Claremont Lounge than any of those other places.
Right.
Those other places.
I think you haven't been there have you been there on Friday and Saturday nights?
Cheetahs.
And
Where,
may be
Claremont?
It may be different now, but there was a period of time a few years ago where it was very frat boy and very
still
let's
get
go. I'm not saying that they were abusive, hurling verbal, but they were mocking. It was irony. We're here. They're ugly. It was all over the whole thing.
Yeah,
and I didn't find it pleasant.
There's a group of people who live in that part of town, have been going there for years, who respect it all.
Kevin
and
Kinney's one of
I
those.
don't even think about it when I'm there. I'm just
Kevin
having a
always
beer.
drags me there. I'm like,
right?
ah.
But you're right. There is a certain element who maybe they're visiting for the first time. They think it's funny and whatever. There's an element of that to it. But don't be loud and obnoxious about it.
I don't have no desire to go see women that I could easily have sex with. If I'm going to look at women that isn't somebody I'm having sex with, like my wife, then I'm going to go for some sort of ideal
fantasy
thing that I wouldn't otherwise see in real life.
Some of us get that in real life, so we don't have to.
Well, some of us don't grow up. Some of us aren't going to have loved ones looking over us when we die.
Oh,
that's why.
Put the knife in, mate.
32 years. I'm going to have 2 sons, a loving wife.
Remember the 5th of November.
That's right.
Gunpowder, treason, and plot.
Come on, get to it, Johnny. We're fading out.
He's high.
Yeah, huh? Boom. We out.
Remember the 5th of November.